your hosts, Jordan Anderson and Austin Pez Howell.
All right, so there's the episode for today. Welcome to, let's see, let me get it off the screen there. That's really weird. It won't let me take it off the screen.
It's okay. We'll just do it like I'll peek through the corners here.
Over here.
And we'll just peek out the side, and I'll be on the Rock side, and you be on Bronson's side.
Right. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm trying to peek my way through.
There we go.
There we go. Right. Hey, there we are. Hello.
Welcome to the live show. This is definitely live, but live from Movie Hero. This is our SNL recap show, and we are back after about a month.
Jordan, we have an SNL show. I don't remember doing this.
You still have one.
It seems like a distant memory. Yeah. I don't know.
Right.
I have vague memories of doing one with you like years ago. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. Well, got put on the back burner while we kind of worked on some new projects and some other things that we have coming up. So but I'm excited to get back into it. So we got a couple episodes here that we're going to be talking about. But how are you doing, Austin?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, it's always interesting to go back and do this show with you after we do all these other shows in the meantime. Like we got Tier Ranker Fights where there's always like 6 people, on the show. And then even when we do our podcast, our new Podcast League Now, just to throw out a quick plug, with like 3 people, just to get back to a show where it's literally just me and you is always kind of strange. It's just more like this conversational show that we have. So, but yeah, I'm excited to get back into it. Obviously, we both love SNL, and I always love talking about it. Even if, I think in my opinion, I have one really good episode tonight and one fairly mediocre episode, in my opinion. But we'll talk about it when we get into it. So we'll see. But 2 interesting ones nonetheless.
Yeah, as you can see from the thumbnail there, the first episode was hosted by Bronson Pinchot. We got one of those, and then we got another episode hosted by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson that we're going to get to in a little bit. But
and just to let everybody know, the wild card episode, I usually talk about how I try to tie it in with something happening. To give it context, when I picked it was before WrestleMania was going to happen, so I picked one with a wrestler. But that was obviously like a month and a half ago, so we haven't, we're well past WrestleMania at this point. But still, it's always interesting. When The Rock has hosted SNL, he's hosted, I believe, 5 or 6 times now, and he's always really, really entertaining. You can just see his charisma on screen, and we'll get to that when we get to his episode. But he's always fun.
We're probably getting close to the next big wrestling event, probably.
We're actually closer to SummerSlam, believe it or not, in Las Vegas.
Yeah, right.
So. Oh well, but it is what it is. It's cool, and we're still going to talk about it, so it's fun.
Yeah, we got that happen, and we just had the big Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight, which was pretty interesting. I just got a couple of highlights. I'm not going to pay for that. I mean, I think that's fun, but
I think if you paid for that, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. Those guys clearly, it's all just
like millionaires fighting.
Look, that is more scripted and fixed than professional wrestling. I mean, can we just admit that? Like at this point, that Floyd Mayweather's fights, and he's getting paid $50 million to put on a show for 8 rounds and like barely break a sweat. Like, are you kidding me? But anyways, that's a whole nother topic for the podcast or something. But Jesus, we're here to talk about SNL, Jordan. We're here to go take a time machine back to 1987 for our first episode with Bronson Pinchot.
Yeah, so Bronson Pinchot, you might know him as Balky from Perfect Strangers. He's also the gay museum curator from Beverly Hills Cop. And then
Serge from Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah.
Serge. Yeah.
Serge.
And then, in this episode, it originally aired back on February 14th, 1987. So you had Bronson Pinchot, and then you also had musical guest Paul Young hosting, and then you had a special guest who actually appeared in a surprisingly high number of of sketches, you had model Paulina Poliskova. That I guess she was like some kind of swimsuit model.
Yeah, I had to look her up. She was just kind of a big swimsuit model in the late 80s. I wasn't really familiar with her, off the top, like I would be like an older person like Claudia Schiffer or something like that. I just wasn't as familiar. But apparently she was kind of a big deal for at least a year or two. So she was kind of like probably the Kate Upton of her day. Well, if to make it maybe a more modern comparison, we'll say.
Right. Yeah, sounds about right. But yeah, as we just start off with.
Real quick, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
That's a quick question, Jordan. As far as Bronson goes, are or were you a Perfect Strangers fan?
Oh, I was a huge Perfect Strangers fan, but I didn't catch it in its original run. But I caught it pretty soon after. When it aired in the 80s, and I probably watched all the episodes like in the early 90s or so.
90s syndication. Okay.
Yeah, and I loved it all though. Like I thought it was a great show, and also too it probably has one of the best theme songs in like sitcom history. Like the theme song's great. So
okay. So would you consider yourself a fan of his? I guess coming into it, a fan of Bronson, or just a casual fan? Maybe just more of a Perfect Strangers casual fan kind of a thing.
Yeah, not so much a Bronson fan, but just more of a Perfect Strangers overall.
Okay.
Really
and just as far as I go, I'm familiar with the show. I've seen a few episodes here and there, but it was not one that I watched in my 90s kind of growing up. I was more of like a Married with Children, Home Improvement, Family Matters, Seinfeld kind of guy. So yeah, that was more my jam. But I'm very familiar with Perfect Strangers. I mean, it was on for 8 seasons, so I mean, a lot of people were very familiar with it. It was a hit, so good for him. He had a pretty long run. I mean, 8 seasons for a sitcom is pretty extraordinary. So I mean, when you think about it,
yeah. And I will say that like I never even thought that Bronson Pinchot was a very great actor. Really, like he's not really like the best, but what he is great at is doing accents because he's just a white guy that just like
I was gonna say
do all these accents. Like he can do them.
A lot of his career kind of relies heavy on the accents, when you think about it.
Does.
So yeah, because we'll see kind of when he's just talking when we get to the monologue, which was interesting to say the least.
Yeah, right.
But before we get there, we got a very, very, like you were alluding to, a very, very brief cold open here, Jordan. Very, very brief.
Yeah. Yep. So we open with Phil Hartman as Liberace, dressed in like a crazy white outfit with all these feathers and like sitting at a piano, and he's about to play something and sing, but then he just says, "If you thought the censors were going to let us do any more than this, you're crazy." And then they just go live from New York at Saturday Night Live because I guess Liberace was a pretty controversial figure when much most of his life.
You know what this is supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be Liberace in heaven because he had passed away a few weeks before this.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay.
Yes. So this is Liberace in heaven. This is why because we kind of open up and it's just him at this grand like white piano with like this kind of fog rolling through, like dry ice kind of stuff. And it's supposed to be him basically like he's dead. So it's like Angel Liberace because he had passed away of HIV and pneumonia a few weeks earlier. So this was kind of like, and because they didn't want to go into anything too crass. So that's why like you think Phil Hartman's going to do something with it. And it's a good impression, by the way. He looks great as Liberace. Like he's spot on. He's doing the smiling and the over dramatic, piano keys and everything. But then he just delivers the whole like, we're not. You think the censors are going to do anything? We're not, And then he just goes live from New York Saturday night. So it was kind of an abrupt ending, obviously. But I wanted to see a little bit more of Phil Hartman doing it. But it was still an interesting way to open the show. Excuse me.
Yeah. Do you ever see the a few years back that they did like an HBO
that Candelabra movie?
Behind the Candelabra that had Matt Damon playing him. I never saw it, but I heard
Michael
about
Douglas played him. Michael Douglas played Liberace.
Okay.
And Matt Damon played like his lover. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, that's
and
what it was,
I didn't watch it, but I've seen clips of it and things like that. It was certainly interesting. But Michael Douglas, playing Liberace. But I never got around to watch the full thing. But he was an interesting dude. And speaking of WrestleMania, he actually made an appearance at WrestleMania 1 or 2, I believe. And he did like a thing with the Rockettes. Yeah, when they used to do those kind of celebrity guest spots.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so after this, we just jump into the opening monologue, which is like kind of a weird monologue. I didn't really find it very entertaining. It's just him kind of talking about something. Like yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Did he do a monologue? I fell asleep. Holy crap! Was this the worst monologue, most boring monologue I've ever seen in my? I don't know. Was there supposed to be a joke? Was there supposed to be a joke in here? Like a punchline? Did you catch a punchline at all anywhere in here? Or like some joke I was missing? Because the audience seemed to be looking for one too and didn't get one.
Well, like basically, like not really. Like he just kind of just like we tell the story of like some weird date that he went on, and then some girl that he like fell in love with, and then like things didn't work out, but then like he kept blowing her off and like all these weird things. But like the only joke that I really caught though wasn't even related to the story he was telling. So like at the beginning of the monologue, he just comes up. He's like, I just want to mention one thing before we get started, that Don Pardo mispronounced my name. It's actually Pinchot. Okay, so that's out of the way, and he's like,
really
no.
Shao for you.
Yeah, it's like we like points out. He's like, but it absolutely had to be said. We have a really great show for you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was the only amusing thing, because it's like this story about like some girl who got away, some kind of story, but like, and you think just the way he's telling it, you think it's going to take a turn at some point, right? Like you think the story's going to take some kind of like goofy, weird, comedic turn, like it's going to go into wacky territory, but like it doesn't. And you can tell the audience is like trying to giggle at stuff. Like you can even hear them like hesitantly kind of like waiting for the punchline or waiting for the turn, and it just never happens. It just goes on for like 5 minutes. Like I timed it. This thing is long, and and then nothing happens. Like it just gets to like a thing where he's just like, and that's my story. We got a great show for you tonight. I'm like, what? Where was the punchline? I didn't understand this.
Yeah, but basically like I wrote most of it down what he said just to kind of like go over it a second time to like see if I could get something out of it. And like basically like he meets the love of his life in this coffee shop, and he like retells the story of it. And but then like he like goes on about like how he's so thankful for it that he wouldn't be where he is today without this girl in his life. But then he keeps blowing her off at like the last second. So like every time like he gets an opportunity, like you think he's gonna invite this girl along for the ride, and then he just ends up blowing her off at the last second. But it didn't make me laugh. So just like next. I'm ready for the next one.
Easily like the worst monologue we've seen so far, like pretty easily. Like even I mean even like the William Shatner one, which wasn't the greatest, but like at least he told a couple of like weird Star Trek jokes. Like at least I giggled at a few things.
Yeah,
like, I got something out of it, and it was short. At least when they're bad, a lot of the bad ones we've seen are kind of short. Like they leave them at like a minute or two, if there's not much to them. But like, holy crap, this just went on forever. And I was grateful. This is one thing that after I'd seen it 2 or 3 times and doing my research, I was like, I can't watch this anymore. I refuse. Because I went back to it to try to get something out of it, and I just got nothing out of it. So I don't know what it was or why, but we can move on, please.
I wish they would have done something like Perfect Strangers related. Like maybe
that's what I'm saying. I was thinking the same thing. Like bring the other guy on stage like they do nowadays. Sometimes they'll bring like if they're associated with somebody, like bring him on, and maybe the other guy could be like, I didn't know you didn't have an accent for real. Have you been like faking it the whole time? Like they can play around with that. I mean, wouldn't that be even just something brief, like a 2 or 3 minute thing, and be like, call him by his character name, and then he could try to fake go into the accent, but then like be like, that's just a character I play, right? Like I'm not really that guy. Like you could get a few, you could at least squeeze a few jokes out of that premise, and me and you coming up with that right here, it's like that's immediately funnier than what they came up with, like even that, and at least the crowd would be like into it, So I mean, I don't know what they were thinking with this one, but yeah, for sure.
It's like we can come up with something better in like 5 seconds of just like off the top of our head, But like basically, we'll move into the first sketch. So the first one that we had was the Emerita sketch. So
Yeah, I didn't get to see this one, unfortunately. I looked all over for it, and I couldn't find it. I could only find some screenshots and a few little things, but I know it's something with Phil Hartman and like being a Canadian citizen or something like that. You have to fill me in.
Yeah, so I gotta see it because I get the underground versions of it. So
you get the sketchy version, whackity schmackity do of the SNL, right?
Yep. But did you get to see like even any? Well, like so, like they like have the Meredith sketch, but then they have almost like a second sketch that's like sort of attached to it. That's like like a panel of people like doing a commentary on it, kind of
like the Nightline thing, right? Like they did
the Nightline thing.
It's like almost like they were supposed to be commenting on literally the sketch we just saw, or like the topic of the sketch we just saw, which I found was. I didn't get to see that one either because they're kind of attached, but like I found that concept kind of fascinating, almost like a sketch within a sketch. Like I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
But like basically though, the whole premise of the sketch is like, what if America was actually a part of Canada? So like it was just one big giant country that's called America. So like basically they talk about how in the 1980s the U.S. was suffering under a massive foreign trade and budget deficit, so they had to mortgage the United States to its thrifty neighbor to the north, Canada, creating the nation known as America. So you see an American flag, but instead of stars, you have a maple leaf there, and so that's kind of like how they merge it, and it's set in the province of Kansas in the distant future of 1999. Is like how they do it, but they like basically they're watching the Tonight Show, which is hosted by Alan Thicke. So you have all these Canadian
oh my god
people in there, but they're Canadians, but they're also Canadians that were like popular in the 80s kind of. So
it's as if Alan Thicke, because he had a talk show for a little while. I don't know if you know this, called In the Thick of the Night.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like because everybody and their mother back in the 80s like had a late night talk show. So I guess if this is like some alternate future where maybe he took over the Tonight Show after the rampant success of In the Thick of the Night.
Yeah, right.
So right. Like if instead of going down in flames after one season, as if it took off like a rocket and he propelled himself into the seat of the Tonight Show.
Right. Yeah. So you have this family that's watching the Tonight Show with Alan Thicke, and then the guest stars Lauren Green, which I guess was like from the original Battlestar Galactica, and then and they say coming on, they say, and then also a special guest Anne Murray on at 11 p.m. Newfoundland time, so that they're like making reference to that.
Oh, right.
And then then they say followed by late night with Gordon Lightfoot, I guess. So like
late night with Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
But then they have Phil Hartman, Victoria Jackson, and Nora Dunn. They keep calling all these American named things by Canadian named things, but they don't seem very happy about it. They're like especially Phil Hartman. He keeps getting like really upset that America's part of Canada now, and so Phil Hartman he like tells Victoria Jackson, he's like, get your feet off the couch. I mean, and she looked at him like, what? It's like, I mean Chesterfield. Yeah, you know what I mean. And then Victoria Jackson's wearing a Montreal Canadiens hockey jersey, and then Nora Dunn, she's like, hey, look at this. The polls say Gretzky to be elected in a landslide, eh? And then Phil Hartman, he's like basically like the old crotchety dad who complains about the government, and so she's like, she's like, hell, if I'm ever going to vote for that hockey playing toque for president, I mean prime minister, damn. and then you have Nora Dunn playing his wife, and he's like, relax, honey, let me get you an ice cold Labatt's. And he's like, no, I wouldn't touch that Canadian swell with a 10-foot pole. And Victoria Jackson's like that's a 3-meter pole, Dad. Come on. And then
because they got to use the metric system now. They're forced into it. because we're the only country. We're like the only country in like the civilized world that doesn't use the metric system. We're like the lone outliers.
Yep.
We're still clinging on to the non-metrics. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when Victoria Jackson's complaining about being in grade 13, because in Canada, I guess they go all the way to 13 instead of 12, and then Nora Dunn's like, honey, what are you so upset about? And then Phil Hartman's like, upset about? He's like, I'll tell you what I'm so upset about. I seem to be the only one who remembers a country with a president and money that isn't every color of the rainbow. A country where you didn't have to punt on fourth down. A country where you didn't score a point just by kicking a ball into the end zone. I remember a country where the temperature was Fahrenheit, where the subway stunk, where they were dirty, filthy places. You would spill a word like color or a flavor without using a U. Am I the only one who cares anymore? Then, like the whole time he's just like screaming at the top of his lungs. He's just like so upset to like have to like do all this Canadian stuff. But then like basically though like that's pretty much all that really shows. Like it's just a little clip, and then you cut over to the Nightline stuff, and they're just kind of analyzing like this little clip from the episode. So, and for the Nightline stuff, so you have Dana Carvey playing Ted Koppel. So he's like, good evening, I'm Ted Koppel. This is Nightline. We've already seen part one of this show that's already touched off a huge debate across the country. They're referring to Emerita. So apparently this is the review. And he's like, with me to discuss its potential ramifications is a panel of experts. Then you have Al Franken playing former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. So, and the whole entire sketch, he looks like super worried, like he's just kind of like in a panic or like something, like this is like some horrible thing or something. Then you have Bronson Pinchot plays noted professor and astronomer Carl Sagan. So like he's him.
Oh, so he's doing Cosmos, Carl Sagan.
Yeah, right.
Old school.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, before we move on, how was Carvey's Ted Koppel? Because I remember Daryl Hammond doing Ted Koppel kind of in the late 90s on some of those when he was on there, and it was very much like, my name is Ted Koppel with Nightline. Yep. You know, like that very kind of like Ted Koppel, like the emphasis on the Koppel. Okay. Did he do it? I mean, Carvey's good, so I don't expect him to not do an impression. I didn't know he did one. Like I know he did. Well, he would do Tom Brokaw later. I was very familiar with that. But yeah, like my Ted Koppel that I remember is Daryl Hammond doing it later in the 90s.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then you have Kevin Nealon playing football commentary, Brent Musburger, which my favorite thing is the whole entire thing is like when he's pulling his like eyes down, but like this time he does it for the entire sketch though. Like he just has it down like the entire way. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then we'll talk about Kevin Nealon making faces in a sketch a little later. Yeah. But yeah, for sure. But then so you have Dana Carvey and as Ted Koppel, and like Dr. Kissinger. I'll start with you. How realistic is the episode we've just seen? And then Al Franken, like he has this like deep voice, almost like sounding kind of like a slight Russian accent. Something I'm not.
Kissinger is like vaguely Eastern European. It was like one of those things where like you kind of never knew where he was from. He was just kind of vaguely Eastern European in real life. You know, like movie villains they'll be like just Eurotrash where they're kind of from anonymous Eastern European country, but they don't ever tell you why. That's probably kind of how he played it. He played it, yeah. Yeah, basically what it was. And like I almost wish Al Franken was in more stuff. He's pretty good when he's on. He's like yeah, I mean he's one of those guys that obviously we've seen him in a previous episode, do his Stuart Smalley character. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll see him later doing more because we saw him do the commentary thing on Weekend Update, which is pretty funny too.
Yeah.
When he did that Ronald Reagan commentary thing. I mean, he's always like, because he's more of a writer, but he's always pretty funny as a performer when he actually does show up, for sure.
Yeah, he is. Because when they cut to him, he's like it would be a grave mistake to underestimate the geopolitical importance of Canada, situated as it is directly between the United States and the Soviet Union. But this is just completely stupid. Now, I don't watch a lot of primetime television, so maybe I'm not the one to ask about this. But this, well, it was just garbage. So, but then Ted Koppel, he's like Carl Sagan. In tomorrow's episode, the city of Canada is buried under 20 feet of snow. What would be the ecological consequences if our country were indeed taken over? And then you have Bronson doing his Carl Sagan, and he's like, and it's kind of like a strange kind of drawn out voice, almost like he's like speaking to like clenched teeth or something, just kind of like this. But he's like, well, it was a prospect of Canadian winter descending and sweeping over our beaches. It is frightening and displeasing to say the least. Almost chilling, if you will. And then he's like, however, the notion that it could ever come remotely via the scenario seems extremely remote. And then just like that, cut back to Al. Frankie's like, try stupid. Because like, he just thinks like the whole thing's just completely stupid. And then
right.
Like turning our attention over to Mr. Brent Musburger, sir, you've acted as host of NFL Today, and he's like that's NFL Today here on CBS, and he keeps doing like the CBS thing, which is like cracks me up every time.
CBS.
Yeah, right. Like, no matter how many times that he does it, it just still makes me laugh. But he's like, we asked Brent Musburger what his reaction is, and he's like, you clearly were affected. And he's like, well, that's right, Ted. I was deeply disturbed about the prospect of seeing third down punts and single point drop kicks here on CBS. And then Al Franken, he's like, well, I thought that the acting in this scene was just terrible. The woman who was a wife, she didn't even seem to even have a character. And Dana Carr's like, gentlemen, getting back to the subject at hand. Merida, could it happen? And then Bronson, he's like, Ted, I would say that the chances of that happening are 1 in billions and billions. And then they just kind of just like fade out, and you have one last Kevin Nealon. He's like, see you next week here on CBS or whatever. So like basically they're just kind of just like doing a commentary of like how stupid they like thought it was, and like how like there's not even a remote possibility anything like that's ever going to happen in Canada.
They've done a couple of sketches like that even this season that were like had that meta thing where you remember we watched that Steve Gutenberg sketch where at the end they were like, now the situation you saw in this sketch, we're not homophobic or anything like that. You know what I mean? It became like a PSA at the end. So like they've kind of, it's always strange when they take these turns like that on SNL where they like just turn around and face the camera and like talk about the sketch they've just done. But I mean, I guess it works sometimes and it doesn't work other times. But interesting to hear Bronson doing yet another accent because there's hardly anything where he's just talking in his normal voice other than the monologue on this show, basically. Yeah,
right. Like I think every single other accent, every single other sketch, he has some kind of accent.
He's doing something. Yeah.
But that was the end of the sketch. So the next sketch that I had was the kids reading the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. Did you have that one?
Yeah. So with Pauline, this is our first appearance of Paulina, the swimsuit model. Yeah, she's doing like a commercial for. It's like a commercial thing where she's talking about the swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated and how like kids should get a subscription to Sports Illustrated or something like that. But
Yeah.
there's a bit where they talk about like, and she's like, oh, there's such great, like articles in it and things like that. And as she's talking about this, it's just pictures of like all these female athletes like doing splits and stuff, or like their skirts coming up, like in tennis and things like that. Like all these like almost like upskirt shots.
Yeah.
Just like all these like females like in provocative positions, like unintentionally, and all these things. And you see these kids like holding it up like they would a Playboy, like the centerfold thing, like up and down and sideways, and she's just talking about how like, it's basically implying that kids needed to jerk off essentially, Which they don't say that, but like, it's pretty much implied that like, because she even does a thing with the door, like the do not disturb sign. Like, did you write down what it said?
Oh yeah, it says "Keep out, Mom. I'm studying." Is what it says.
I'm studying, right? I'm studying, right? I think it is even in quotation marks. Because it's these kids just like holding it up, like it's basically implied that it's almost like it's about as close to a Playboy as you could get without like reading a Playboy. So you get these kids like reading it, and like it's all these provocative things, and then they put a phone number up on the screen. It says like to order it, it's like 1-800-999-WANK.
Yeah, right.
And she's like, and please order it because your kids need it. But then they come to a really random old guy playing a hobo going like reading it going, and I need it too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It was so random at the end, but I thought that it made me giggle for some reason, just the random cutaway.
Yeah, like basically they're like saying like, come on, your kids are gonna see this stuff anyways. You may as well just expose it.
Like
to
you
them
might as well just give it to them, or if you're not gonna give them a Playboy, at least give them like the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated or something. Yeah. So it was a pretty short sketch. It was only about 90 seconds or so, but I thought it was pretty amusing for what it was.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of quotes too. Like when she tried to kind of sell it, she's like, she says, now more than ever, the young men in your life need the Sports Illustrated annual swimsuit edition every January. And then you just like cuts to it's like a bunch of models and like bikinis, some shots from the swimsuit edition. Mm-hmm. It's like it's filled with dozens of today's top models wearing practically no clothes at all. Plus, it's mixed in with enough sports scores and articles about thoroughbred racing to make it acceptable in any American home. You also get 51 other issues filled with interesting articles about football, and you see some kind of weird football, basketball, baseball, and then you cut to like the photos of like athletes and all the compromising positions and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I said if you subscribe it now, you get a bonus Sports Illustrated do not disturb sign that says keep up, Mom. I'm studying. And remember, Sports Illustrated is an important part of growing up. Your kids need it, and then it cuts to like the
I need it too.
Right.
Right.
But yeah,
it was pretty short, but it was pretty good. Pretty good for what it was. Yeah.
But the next one they had was Dana Carvey doing the Derek Stevens
again,
like musician thing. Yeah.
I can't believe how much they've wrung out of this one sketch, like this season alone, and it's like right. And because if you think about it, like, doesn't it seem like ages ago he did the chop and broccoli things? That was on like the first episode of the season. Yeah. And we're on episode like 11, and this is the third time they've done this character, which I didn't even remember as being a recurring character. I was surprised the first time we came back to that character in the other sketch that we watched when they were proposing to him that he needs to die to boost his record sales. And so it's this character again doing another rendition of Chop and Broccoli, only he's doing a commercial jingle for Bird's Eye Vegetables.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like my favorite part of the whole thing is when they have John Lovitz come in doing the Ringo Starr impression. Like he did a really good impression. Like I was surprised, but like basically though, you just have Derek trying to do a commercial, but like that kind of feels like he's being a bit of a sellout. He's not very happy. He doesn't really want to do it, but then he's like trying to explain to his manager, who's played by Phil Hartman. He's like, look, Chop chopping broccoli isn't about vegetables. It's about me and you. And for actual vegetables in life, then we're bound to be chopped. I mean, come on. So you're trying to make it some kind of serious commentary.
Just he puts the emphasis on like it's not about vegetables.
Yeah, not about vegetables. Yeah,
vegetables. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I thought that was one of the funnier parts of the sketch. I didn't find the sketch particularly funny or very well written. Like I'm okay with the premise of like, you know, all these stars that do these jingles are kind of, I guess they're talking about, you know, selling out to these you know, food companies or whatever. Because the whole thing when Ringo comes in and he's like, you know, Ringo, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I've been off filming the jingles for the wine cooler company, you know, next door or whatever. Because he's doing spots for like some wine cooler company.
Yeah, where he's like, ooh, Han, you've been doing it the way of the world, Derek. I was just mucking about next door, laying down some tracks for my new Sun Country wine cooler adverts.
Yeah. And then they actually go into it and you get to hear the actual jingle. And it's like, to be honest, the jingle was kind of catchy for what it was, especially like the chorus of it, like the hook. Because it's like, she's jumping broccoli, she's jumping broccoli, jumping broccoli. Like, it's a different little rendition of it. Like, I was trying to think, I was racking my brain trying to think of what song this sounded like, because it sounded like a familiar real song to me. Did you have that feel? I couldn't put my finger on it, but it had a I couldn't. I racked my brain and I couldn't figure out what it sounded like, but it was like it was almost like a fast version of it with the acoustic guitar. But yeah, and I think, was it G.E. Smith there hitting the bass guitar or something like that too, or the electric guitar? He was like right now.
Yeah,
we got to see. Yeah, we got to see him in the sketch. He was playing guitar in the sketch. Yeah, and then I don't know if John Lovitz was actually playing drums or not. I couldn't tell. I don't know. I was looking for it.
It looks like it. Yeah. So like basically, well, so he's playing Ringo Starr, and that kind of gives him a little confidence to like want to play better and like do better in front of Ringo Starr. So like he gets his confidence back and able to like bust out a pretty decent track for him. So yeah. But like the way that John Lovitz just does the Ringo character, like just gets me every time when he's like, you're doing ads, Ringo? He's like, well, sure, why not? Got to keep my grunts, keep in rubber boots. He's like, right, rubber boots, huh? And then he starts smiling and like getting his confidence.
That real like almost stereotypical Beatles voice of just like, well, you got to do what you got to do, Derek. You'll make it dance.
Yeah, right.
It was, it's that very much almost like the John Lennon type thing, like when people do, like impressions of him and stuff. That very like smooth kind of British accent thing.
Yep, yeah, but basically that's all it was. Like it didn't give me a lot of laughs. I thought John Lovitz was kind of the best part of the sketch as Ringo, definitely. And then again, I thought the actual jingle, once they got into it at the end, was like kind of catchy for what it was. But I think it was an okay premise, but I think it could have been written just a tad better. I don't know. I thought it was okay. It was just kind of okay. It was all right. Yeah. Same with me. Well, that's about what I got out of it. But the next sketch we have, it was a Phil Hartman sketch coming over to ask the French girl out on a date, and then you have Serge character from Beverly Hills Cop.
So it's Serge, and it's that Babette character we've seen before on Weekend Update, just not on Weekend Update.
Oh yeah.
So it's that Nora Dunn Babette character where she's like a sex pot or something, almost like a 40s like sex pot kind of a thing. But Serge is like he's like her handler or her like assistant or something, in this thing, or like kind of the barrier between the date and her, you know what I mean? Yeah, because it's Phil comes in and he's got like this pompous kind of white wig on, and his character I was amused with the character name. His name, such like a pompous name, it's like Oxford Whitehead. Yeah, I was like, okay, it's such like a pompous, like rich guy asshole name, like from a movie or something, like it sounds like the dean of a school or like some rich asshole villain in like a Roadhouse movie or something like that, like Oxford Whitehead.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. But for me, like the best part of this was just the interaction between Bronson Pinchot and Phil Hartman. Like I didn't really care for really any of the Babette stuff. I didn't really.
No, I thought this sketch had like a decent start. Like the first minute or two was okay, but I thought it went too long. And yeah, once he broke off, because Phil Hartman you need somebody with that Surge character, right? And in Beverly Hills Cop, like it's him playing off of Eddie Murphy, so it works, right? You know, in those short bursts, because Eddie Murphy's almost playing like the straight man in that sketch, which is kind of odd, but he's almost playing the straight man. And like Phil Hartman is just kind of playing he's just kind of playing the rich asshole like straight man. So Surge is just like bouncing stuff off him to where he's just like every other thing he's just like, what? Like, what are you saying? I don't understand. Because he'll be like, you want to drink with the celery stick?
Yeah, right.
It's like the what? It's like the celery stick. He's just like, what you got there? You got a monkey, the baboon, the monkey. You know, because he probably brings like, he brings like a stuffed monkey. He's got like a stuffed monkey and a thing of chocolates. And he's like, you got the chocolate with the in the middle, the cream in the middle, you know, like just, you know, he keeps like stalling, like I thought their interaction was funny just because Phil played a good straight man, like he can do. Yeah, once it broke off and it like changes scenery into him just talking with Babette, I thought the thing took like a nosedive like pretty fast. Like I lost interest pretty quickly.
Yeah, it might be my favorite sketch with Bronson Pinchot because just the way that he does the accent just kind of was pretty funny when he's like, hello, how are you doing tonight? My name is Serge. How can I help you? He's like, I'm here to see Babette, and he's like, what does this pertain? He's like, I beg your pardon. He's like, what is the meaning? What do you want? He's like, she's expecting me. Oxford Whitehead here to see it. Babette. He's like, Desi, one moment. Like he has some other guy off to the side or something.
It's Kevin Nealon is like in the sketch, but he has like nothing to do. He just walks in for a second and he like walks out. Like it's very nothing.
Yeah, and he keeps pronouncing Oxford Whitehead's name wrong like the whole time. Mm-hmm. So like he keeps getting annoyed by it too. And he's like, can I offer you something to drink while you're waiting? He's like, no. And he's like, no, I'm good. He's like, we have the apple juice. He's like
juice,
no,
the apple juice. Yeah. You want the apple juice? He's like, what?
He's like, we have the mineral waters with the bubbles. No. And he's like, the Coke diet.
Right.
He's like, I make you your nice Virgin Bloody Mary with the vegetable juice and some nice lime and some nice celery stock. No.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's nice and crunchy. You can sip. He's like, you can sip on the end of it with your teeth. It's like, teeth? What?
With your teeth. With your teeth.
With my what? Yeah, you know, but but like basically though, they keep going back and forth. He asked him about the chocolates in the box. He's like, chocolates with some fruit inside, with the syrup and the naked lady stamped on the top.
Mm-hmm.
You have any of the nut monkeys? Yeah. Like
you got the monkey. What is that monkey? What that is? A monkey? A baboon?
Like actually, it's more of an orangutan. And he's like, ooh, an orangutan. Like you can't say that either.
Yeah.
But yeah. Like basically though, like that's all that I wrote down. Like I didn't really write any of the Babette stuff. I just thought that it was
because he goes to like Babette and he's trying to describe like it's basically just him retreading a lot because she's just like, well, who is it? And he's just like, it's the men, the Oxman. So they're just like, what? Like who? And he's like, he brought you something. He brought you a monkey. He called me a monkey. No, he brought you a monkey. Like, you know, he's like, he called me a monkey. And he's like, no, I don't want to see it. But like, then it just like ends abruptly. Like after like a minute of dialogue, it just like ends. Like he's just like sitting there and then the sketch is just over. It's almost like they forgot, like they didn't know how to end it because in those Beverly Hills Cop movies, the only thing that like those sketches usually just end because like Eddie Murphy goes to see somebody else. You know what I mean? So like the segment just ends because he's like he's there to meet somebody else. He has like a 2-minute interaction and the person, because I went back and watched some of the scenes, you know, from the movies on YouTube, and like literally it's just, he has like these like a 2-minute interaction and then he goes, oh, you know, Cindy, you know, there we go. Okay. And then he just like walks away. So like it felt like that with this. It's just like, they just didn't know how to end it. So they just cut away. It's just very strange. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so the next thing that happened was Weekend Update, and surprisingly, like this episode was just so bad that like Weekend Update was like the highlight for me. Like,
well, because there was one thing in this, Weekend Update that I thought was one of the best things we've seen this whole season, and I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about. But
well, I have an idea. Yeah,
you might have an idea.
Oh yeah,
it's easily the best. It's easily one of the best things we've seen like all season. Yes,
I know what you're.
Yeah, it's Carvey. It's
You're
Carvey
talking
doing
about,
Jacques
yeah, right.
Cousteau. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
right,
like one of
right.
those things I've seen.
Yeah, but
So, anyways, yeah. Did you write down any of the jokes? I wrote down one or two of them, but not a ton.
yeah, I
A few
did.
here and
Yeah,
there.
and
It was better than you. It was better than usual. I'll say again because I think Dennis Miller's starting to realize that he needs to use other people's jokes and not just his own
yeah, right.
stuff. And so it's getting a
Exactly.
little funnier. Yeah, it's getting a little funnier.
Yeah. Or less Gorbachev jokes and a bunch of those foreign people, just getting to some just more.
It's a little more like
funny
pop
people.
culture stuff. Yeah, it's getting a little more like pop culture stuff and things because I wrote one down about he was talking about Charles Manson had wrote a book from prison or something like that, and he was talking about and Charles Manson he was doing a book signing but he ran out of blood.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was kind of amusing. And then there's one bit where he literally just they pop a picture up of a sumo wrestler, basically like his ass on screen, but then there's no joke. Like the audience just goes and he just goes. He just moves on.
Like,
all right,
an
actual joke.
Next. Yeah, right.
Next. So again, I like the irreverent stuff like that. Like he's getting a little more.
Get a couple like that.
That's getting funny. Yeah. Because he had the Bruce Willis spit take thing too, where he does his own self spit take.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
He does a delayed spit take where he just grabs water and then drinks it.
Well, he says the joke, and the whole thing is he's Time Magazine called Bruce Willis, and this is, by the way, remember this is 86 or 87. So this is Moonstruck Bruce Willis. Okay, this is pre Die Hard, and it's they call it. It's so and so magazine called him a Renaissance man, and he just takes a sip of water and he does his own spit take, and then he just moves on. Yeah, so again, when it's a little more creative like that, I was enjoying this a little bit more than the usual Weekend Update shtick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then he's there's just certain things in life that demand a spit take or something.
Yeah.
But he's talking about Bruce Willis doing Return to Bruno or something like that. I think that's what it was. Yeah. But then he had another one too. It was he believes Springsteen made the cover of Rolling Stone, and then just pauses and then just cuts to the next thing. It's okay, right? But
that's the joke,
right? But one of the things I wanted to point out. So always when they had Dennis Miller on, they always call him anchor person. I always wondered why they do that. If that's just something that
I think
they really think about. Or if it's
I think it was just that's always been I think that's always been kind of a Weekend Update thing.
Okay.
Because I think if I remember right, they would call they say anchor person Kevin Nealon and stuff. I think it's just a Weekend Update thing. I think it's just a thing they decided a long time ago. But anyways, the highlight Weekend Update is he brings on Dana Carvey playing Jacques Cousteau because it's near Valentine's Day, so he's talking about the mating habits of the napkin fish, and this might be one of the funniest things I've seen all season because it just came out of nowhere. Because he's doing this kind of dry deadpan thing, and he's just the mating habits of the napkin fish. He's just hot and horny. He floats, and he's just he's holding up an actual napkin. He's just waving it all over the place. He floats next, and he goes to find the female, the sea slut, and then he's got another one.
It was just like the human celebrates love and romance with the Valentine. The tiny creatures of the sea also enjoy the mating rituals. Take, for example, this model of the flying napkin fish. The tiny napkin fish is fragile. Just like a piece of 2-ply bathroom tissue, he floats through the sea. This young male searches for a prospective mate. Hot and horny, he floats.
Hot and horny. I thought that was one of the funniest lines I've ever heard. Hot and horny, he floats. That's so good. I thought that was great. And he's talking about and then they go to mate, and she bites off his penis, but that's okay because he has 6 penises.
Like that. That's 6 left. Yeah, it was close by. Shredding her stuff is the beautiful napkin fish. She's one hot bitch of a fish.
Hot bitch of a fish.
She's some kind of Pabula sea slug, that's for sure. That's right, sea slug.
Sea slug.
It's she whips her tail as if to say, I know what I want and I know how to get it.
And I know how to get it.
She waits amongst the coral reef. The male approaches. Suddenly he rubs up against some coral and loses his penis. No problem, he has 6.
6. Dude, now I could watch a whole ocean documentary in this style, like for an
Seriously.
hour. This shit would be
That would be
hilarious. Like,
amazing.
it would be if it's
So
Jacques
good.
Cousteau or even Dana Carvey as Jacques Cousteau just talking about
Yeah.
mating habits of different fish. I would watch that all day. I thought this shit was
Right.
so funny. Like I thought this was
He's like-
great.
And he's like, now with the quintentive peni. That's right. A quintentive peni. He approaches the sea slug. They mate. In a second, it is over. It was a quickie.
Yeah, it was a quickie. And then like that's it. It's just like it's only lasts about 2 minutes, but like goddamn was it probably the funniest 2 minutes I've seen so far this season. Like it was damn funny. Like I would almost recommend this episode just for people to go watch that segment of Weekend Update, to be honest. Like I had forgot, I didn't even know he did this character. Like I had never seen this before. And like I don't know how this didn't make the Best of Dana Carvey DVD. Like why you couldn't squeeze this in on there? Like how is this not on there? Like that would be amazing. Yeah. Like I think it would be legendary if they had done that, but like it's just not. But yeah. And then from that we go to stupid A. Whitney Brown again, and I just like I wanted to fast forward so bad. Like I was just like, oh my god, how are you gonna go from this to like this? I was just like, come on, man.
Well,
like
look at the end though. Like even Dennis Miller has a little corny joke. So like he's like, we're like Dana Carvey's like completely exhausted. These whores of the sea flutter away, never to see each other again. Such is the love lives of the napkin fish. This is Jacques Cousteau. And then Dennis was like, the same thing happened to me at the Limelight the other day or something, like at some club or something. After all of that, it's like, okay.
But you have to see it because the whole time Dana's holding up like the two napkins, like making them like kiss, and he's just like floating them around, like he's just playing with the napkins too the whole time.
Just like,
and it adds to it. It's so funny,
like
dude.
Float around,
I can't recommend this segment enough. Like if you don't take anything away from this episode, go watch that segment from this thing. It's really good, really really good. And then freaking A. Whitney Brown, like I was saying. Yeah. And dude, even like I wrote down nothing for this because, bro, even the crowd who's usually into it was like dead for this. It was like dead. I think they laughed. I don't know why. I don't even remember like what he said because it was dead. Like I didn't even write anything down. It was horrible. Like whatever it was terrible.
Well, the thing for me is that so there's two cast members on the seasons that like I don't find even like remotely funny. Well, like maybe kind of like remotely, I guess, because so Nora Dunn, like I'll maybe laugh at maybe like 5% of like anything she's ever done. Like I just don't really find her very funny. But then A. Whitney Brown, it's like nothing. Zero. Like I don't think I've ever laughed at like a single thing he's ever done. I'm like, oh.
No. You know what the funniest thing he did? The one thing we laughed at is when he didn't say anything. You remember that one little open where he's just like the little redneck on the porch, just like holding his hand up and like smiling, but he didn't even say anything because it was it was just. But he was just like making faces and stuff. Like he was okay in that, but he didn't say anything. Like, and when he opens his mouth, it's just like death, dude. Like I don't know what it is. Like I'm sorry, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but like I'm sorry, his segments are death. Like this segment needs to die, like a cold death. Like so
he's
bad.
on the show for like 4 or 5 more seasons. And like I don't get it. Like,
dude, I started like previewing the next one we're going to do on this. He does another segment on the next show, dude. I'm gonna fast forward. I can't watch this anymore. Like I can't do it. Yeah. It's just immediately like fast forward for me. I can't do it. Yeah. But anyways, they ended Weekend Update with a funny thing. He did like Dennis Miller did like a body condom thing, like where he puts on like, this body condom. And oddly enough, this is before Naked Gun did it in the movie.
Oh really? Oh wow!
Because Naked Gun has like a fitness scene where they're having like a sex scene, and he's like, "We need to use protection," and they both have like these body condoms on and just start rubbing up against each other. So like they did this before Naked Gun, which like shocked me.
Wow. Yeah. So it's pretty funny. Like it's kind of just a random thing though. Mm-hmm. Like saying we here at We Come Up Update just want to show you how much we care about protection, and then they bring out the whole body condom.
The body condom thing, yeah. Well, again, but that's to me that made me laugh because again, all the more random stuff he's been doing on here, like the more irreverent, like random humor, has been working for me. You know what I mean? Like I'm enjoying this rather than him just doing 5 minutes of like political jokes that I don't understand the reference. You know, he's just doing more like goofy shit where like I think it's just more of these writers like writing more silly stuff for him to do, and it's working for me. Like I actually enjoyed most of this Weekend Update, like other than the A. Whitney Brown thing. I thought it was pretty solid. Like, I thought it was pretty
Yeah,
good.
like even had another random one where it's like researchers at Johns Hopkins Medical Center said that a commonly eaten vegetable may cause heart attacks and strokes in people as young as 25. He just sits there and then it cuts
He just
away.
moves on.
Like,
Yeah.
they're like
Because the
okay.
crowd, because it's like those news teases you see at night where it's like, could something in your home be threatening your life? More at 11.
Yeah,
You
right.
know? I think I want to say SNL did a sketch like that one time where it was all these like
Really?
horrific news teases, but they never told you what it was. Like, it's a pretty good premise for a little thing. I've seen sketches like that or something like that.
Yeah. But basically, that's most of what I had for the weekend update, though. But it's pretty good and like pretty solid for a weekend update.
Yeah,
but,
other than the one thing, it was good, and it like we said, it had one of the best things I've seen all season in it. You know what I mean? The Jacques Cousteau thing was made me laugh so hard. Like I legit was laughing out loud. I thought it was great.
Yeah, same. But the next thing is we had Paul Young perform, and like I never even heard of Paul Young before this. I don't know if you had ever.
I never heard of him either. I looked up the two songs that he did on here, and luckily they were not songs I hear at my job like they usually are at SNL. Although I did not escape it because Ray LaMontagne on the Dwayne The Rock Johnson episode had a song that I have to hear at work. I swear to God, it's a curse of like every song or every one of these blocks of episodes. We have at least one song I have to hear at work because as soon as I pull it up on YouTube, I'm like, oh no, not another one, and I don't know what it is about that. Like they must have just pulled all their stuff from that for their music. I don't know. But
people that like cloudly easy listening songs from
it's all terrible. So was the next one the Kevin Nealon sketch artist thing? Was that next?
No, so the next one that I had was a sketch called The Life of Golda Meir. It's starring Paulina Palaskova. Did you have that one?
I didn't have that. Oh, that's right. It was basically just about how hot she is again. As if we didn't already know that. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Like basically though, like it's a pretty short sketch, but it's like all these guys, all these kind of generals and like high up people in the military sitting in a room. Then you have Paulina Palaskova playing Golda Meir, which I think maybe might have been the president of Israel at the time, or like the prime minister.
The name sounds like familiar. Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure, but it's something.
She's the former prime minister of Israel. Yeah, Golda Meir.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
But like basically though, like they're in a little war room. So she like comes in. She's like, "Gentlemen, we're under attack from both sides. Is this the end of Israel?" And then you have like all the guys kind of drooling over her. So you have Kevin Nealon there with an eye patch on, and he's like, I don't know about that prime minister, Meir, but I do know one thing. You are an incredibly beautiful woman. And the way that he says it, like he's just drooling over her though, and like kind of gazing at her, kind of like he's just like transfixed by her. And then she's like, "Thank you, gentlemen. That's very kind, but we must know, how much time does the army have to mobilize?" And then cut to Phil Hartman. He's like, "I can't blame he says, I can't blame General Diane, Madam Prime Minister. We all know that Israel is in danger, but with you looking the way that you do it, it's just hard not to think about the war. You're an absolute knockout. You know that?" And like they're singing like such a way that it's just kind of like this weird kind of like they're just like,
so they're just fawning over her the whole time, essentially. Yeah,
the whole entire time. Like even they have Bronson Pinchot on there, and he's like, "I have an idea. Perhaps, General, with your fantastic figure and your gorgeous face, you could be used to help the war effort. Perhaps if you were to visit the front, dressed in say like a revealing swimsuit, it might provide our soldiers some much needed morale lift. What do you say, General Diane?" And General Diane is the guy played by Kevin Nealon. So like he's like, well, we'll support any plan that will get General Meir into a revealing swimsuit. She wins the war and the Nobel Peace Prize. Like at the end of the sketch, you actually see it. You actually see her like in the bikini, and then she's waving the flag. Next thing you see it, the war's over and they're handing her the Nobel Peace Prize for it. So like, it was a pretty funny like premise, but it's pretty short though. Like it's only about a minute long, so it's pretty short. So yeah, that's pretty much all it is. So that's that one. And the next one that I had was the police sketch artist one with it.
Yeah. This was a very Kevin Nealon sketch, as we've seen a few of those this season, where you could tell this was like one he probably wrote himself, much like those ones where he's just doing the monologues and things. Because the premise is that Bronson like comes in and he's like got to describe like a criminal to Kevin Nealon, and he's like supposed to be the sketch artist, but he's not writing any sketches because Bronson's just like, where's your sketchbook? And he's like, oh, we don't need that. And he's like, so what did he look like? And he's like, what kind of face did he have? Did he have like a long? He's like, kind of a long face. So he starts going like.
Yeah,
like making like long faces, kind of like stretching his face.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
And he's like, all right, what kind of nose did he have? Was it kind of straight? And he goes, oh, it's kind of turned upward. Okay. He puts like a piece of tape on his nose, like putting it up almost like a pig. He's like, so something like that. Yeah. And so he's starting to do all this. He's starting to like droop his eyes. He's like, sunken eyes. He's like sinking his eyes down, and then he goes, just one other question. What ethnicity was he? Goes, oh, he was white. He goes, oh, good. He goes, oh, good. That'll save us some time.
Yeah, save some time. Like maybe he would have done blackface or
done blackface. Yeah. And then he's like taping all his face. He's got all this stuff going on, and basically like, and then he goes like, what do he sound like? And he's like, I forget what he says, but he's like saying it from different distances, like in different tones behind him, like behind his back. Hey you. It's like, hey you. Hey you. Yeah. How was that? Hey you. And the whole punchline is that he eventually he like freezes his face, and then he just sticks his face on top of the Xerox machine and like starts making copies. And he's just like, don't worry, buddy. We'll catch him in no time. You got nothing to worry about. And like it's the whole premise of the thing. But like you have to. It's definitely more of a visual sketch. Like you kind of have to see what Nealon's like doing with his face. He's just like contorting his face, like stretching out, like the actual
physical comedy.
Yeah, it's more physical comedy than like the dialogue stuff, other than the white line. But it was pretty funny. It wasn't too long. I think it was just long enough for what it needed to be. You know what I mean? Like it didn't need to be like a super long sketch. It's like 3 or 4 minutes. He does his thing. They get to the punchline and they move on. So
also the whole entire time you see Bronson Pinchot just kind of with like a WTF look on his face, kind of like okay, like what, like are you gonna actually like write anything down? Are you gonna draw anything?
No, no.
We're just doing it this way. All right. So I'm just gonna roll with it. Yeah, but
it's all right.
But that was the end of that one. And the next thing that I had, probably you definitely didn't have, but they had Buster Poindexter come out again. He sang some song called "You May Think," but like the song was actually better than most of his usual stuff, but still not really my cup of tea or anything. So like I just skipped it. Like I probably heard maybe like 10 seconds, and I'm like, all right, well,
yeah, I'm good.
I don't need to hear about that. Right. I'm good. Yep. But so the next one that I had was the guy on the hardware store that keeps hitting on all the women. So it's Bronson Pinchot. He's like the guy that's hitting on all the women.
Yeah, I didn't get to see that one. The hardware store gigolo. I didn't get to see.
Yeah.
No.
So someone for me, it didn't really make me laugh very much. It wasn't really that great. Like it was okay. Like I almost like Nora Dunn's character better than Bronson's character, just because she's just playing like a typical kind of mom, kind of like oblivious to the world where this guy's hitting on her. Mm-hmm. But she's like playing like a very conservative mom, kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen on like Mad TV where they have like a lady that's in the store trying all the samples, and like she just keeps going, oh, what do we have here? Oh yeah, this one's good. Oh, and she'll be like walking around to like all the different tables, and they do several different ones, but she also plays the character Stuart, like the mentally challenged guy. He plays his mom in it too. So like if anyone knows that character, it's like pretty similar. She kind of just has like an older style haircut from the 50s, just kind of looked like an old
Stuart, don't do that, Stuart. No, Stuart. for Mad City.
Stewart,
Stewart.
No.
Now you
Don't
behave,
you do that,
Stewart.
Stewart? Yep, exactly. But like basically though, she just goes into this hardware store. She's trying to find like a specific screw, and she's like, well, she's in line. There's a bit of a long line, but you have Phil Hartman as the clerk behind the counter, and Jan Hooks is like, I'm looking for a certain screw. It's like a screw, but it has this kind of weird thing attached to it. He's like, ma'am, I don't think you know what you're looking for, and I don't have time to go through 80 boxes of screws and bolts until you find what you're looking for. Why don't you just go find what it is, and then come back and we might be able to help you. And then you have Bronson Pinchot that kind of tries to take advantage of these old ladies that'll come in that like don't really know much about hardware and like all the different like screws and tools and all that stuff. So like trying to answer all their questions, and kind of like a suave kind of just like this kind of like suave, sexy type of guy, where he's like, he kind of has a bit of a Spanish accent in this one, sort of. He's like, I couldn't help it, but over here that you couldn't find what you were looking for. Maybe of some assistance to you, and then he just keeps hitting on her for like the whole entire time. She's clueless, and then like he keeps saying like, you can't refuse me, you cannot refuse me, and then basically like she just like just kind of treating him like another store employee, like just, oh yeah, this guy's gonna help me, but then like he offers her a cup of coffee, then they want like sit down, and then Phil Hartman's like, hey guy, how many times? I told you the coffee's for customers only. You can't keep hitting on these women and then sitting down for coffee with them or whatever. And he's like, get out of here. And it's like just kind of that back and forth, but like there's really not much more to it. It didn't really make me laugh all that.
Yeah,
that much.
It seems like there's a better version of that sketch. Have you ever seen Dan Aykroyd doing the male prostitute sketch back from the 70s?
Oh yeah.
Fred, you got nothing to worry about, ma'am, because tonight you're with Fred Garvin, male prostitute.
Yeah, right.
like that sketch is way funnier. Like the idea of like a male prostitute. So I mean, but to me, Bronson, like, I guess unless he's doing an accent or something like an over the top character, I don't find him like very amusing. I think he's kind of like a black hole of charisma, to be honest. Like I think he's pretty boring.
Same.
Like he's kind of a boring dude. Like even in that Kevin Nealon sketch, he's still just playing like a straight man, but he looks bored the whole time. He's just like sitting there, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's very strange. No, stop.
Well, for me,
sorry,
like
my dog's like licking my foot incessantly. Like, knock it off, Jesus. Knock it off.
Come on.
Yeah.
How dare you? We're trying to do a show here. Gosh.
I know. I'm trying to stream here, Melanie.
But
knock it off.
But yeah, like he's kind of weird to me because I think that Bronson Pinchot, like when he does like a really good accent, he actually has a decent amount of charisma. But when he's not doing it, like he's just like he's like a black hole of charisma. He's like the opposite. He turns it off.
It's like
turns it off.
Opposite. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe the writers of like SNL realized that when they put together this episode, because they're like, okay, well, we can do like something with Serge because that's like, was kind of a popular side character in Beverly Hills Cop, right? And it's him doing an accent, and then they're like, oh well, and he can do, what was the other one we just see? I've already like forgotten half this episode. Like it's just like it's so forgettable. Like I've already forgotten half the stuff of this thing, but like, because I mean, like you said, even the Carl Sagan thing's kind of an accent.
Yeah.
Like the just unless he's doing something to that degree, I don't find him funny. I don't think he's very good. I mean, I guess that's why Perfect Strangers, he's doing like this over the top character for 8 seasons, because it's like, it was like what
it actually works.
It was kind of the thing that kept it alive. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. But basically, I just have one more sketch left was the, let's see. Let me get to my notes. Miss Connie's Fable Nook, the like little like. Yeah,
and so that was the end of the show. So we can move on to Dwayne Rock Johnson because this was terrible, and we didn't talk about it. We're good. Dude, this was bad. This was like I barely wrote anything down. I thought this was horrible. Like this is a reprise of that other sketch, and I thought this was terrible. Like this is bad.
I wouldn't say that was the worst thing of the episode, but like one thing that I will say. I actually like Dennis Miller doing characters like this. Like I think that he's actually a little charming a little bit versus what he does for Weekend Update. Like I think like he needs to be in more sketches and less Weekend Update for me. Like I just
Look,
think
his little skip around dance thing, and we talked about this the first time they did this sketch, like is funny. Like that stuff is funny. But like, and even the audience kind of laughs every time he does it. But like, I thought there were like no good jokes in the sketch whatsoever, like at all. Because they bring back the swimsuit chick again to like play this princess, and the idea is like they're trying to make her laugh, but she never laughs. Like she's never laughed in her life or something. Like that's like the premise of it. She's never smiled or anything. And like, but again, the first time they did this sketch, like they actually had a couple of decent moments. And more or less because of the weird writing of it, because it's like Jan Hook's doing the narration for the storybook thing.
Yeah.
But like, I just thought this one had nothing. Like this one just killed me, dude. Like I thought I tried to rewatch this several times and like, oh my god, like I'm just ready for the episode to be over. That was a horrible way to end the show, to be honest. That was pretty bad.
Well, probably like it was the one that like probably tested the lowest. So like they saved it for the end, and they're like, if we have to cut this, we might, but if we have time, we'll just throw it in there, sort of thing. But like but the thing that always makes me kind of chuckle a little bit is just Kevin Nealon, the way that he's playing the like big giant, like he just kind of just walking around, kind of going like, just making grunting noises, and like how he does it, he just like so. Like out in left field and just kind of like, okay, like he just like just kind of over the top with it. And the funny thing is, by him doing that, he's the one that actually ends up making the princess smile by just doing all those little grunting things. He falls on the ground at one point and he's just making weird noises, and she actually laughs about it. But there was one line from Dennis Miller that I wrote down though, where he's like it actually made me like get a pretty good chuckle out of it. But he's like, do not upset LeBay. This spring and his glands are at their bursting point. Come now, let's commence our trek for the enigmatic beauty awaits us. But like just saying that his glands are at the bursting point, like what the fuck is that?
There was one line at the very end that made me chuckle with Jan Hooks when she's doing the wrap up, where they make her smile or whatever, and she's like, and then the princess was giddy for approximately 2 years.
Yeah,
which
right.
Kind of made me giggle. I thought just because it was such an odd line, like it kind of made me giggle. But like other than that, like I don't know. I thought the sketch was just like killing time. Like it was almost like they just needed to fill time with something. You know what I mean? It's almost like they had to stretch the show out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, we can move on from that episode. We'll move into the second one, hosted by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
So real quick,
from season 34.
Bronson's episode. Thumbs up, thumbs down, recommend, not recommend, pieces of it.
I'd recommend like really nothing from Bronson himself. Like I'd recommend stuff from other people.
I'd recommend the Kevin Nealon sketch artist thing, and like mainly most of Weekend Update, including the Dana Carvey, Jacques Cousteau thing. Like those were the two highlights for me of the episode, and everything else was kind of either mad. And I would say,
like in the Emerita sketch, like at least doing like the Nightline stuff, I thought that was actually pretty decent.
Well, but here's the problem: anybody who goes to watch this, if they watch the Peacock version, they're not going to get that. So, like, if you watch the Peacock version of this thing, there's not a whole lot of highlights. If you go watch the torrented, pirate underground version, you might get more of it out of this episode.
If you're able to find it, because like for some reason, like I was able to find this Bronson Pinchot episode like pretty easily on a torrent, but then like finding the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for whatever reason was like really hard to find. Like, the first time that I watched it, I just watched the Peacock version because I couldn't find it, and then all of a sudden, I was able to find it because we had to push the episode back so many times that I did find it. Like, now I can watch the full episode, but the Peacock version has almost everything in it. So
it has almost everything. Yeah, almost everything other than the music and one thing in Weekend Update that we'll talk about. But yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah. Just about it.
Yeah, but so the second episode, like I just said, it was hosted by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from season 34 with a musical guest Ray LaMontagne, and the original air date was from March 7th, 2009. So we're like kind of talking about what was relevant in 2009 throughout the episode. But But we'll just start with the cold opening. So you have Will Forte playing Timothy Geithner, kind of talking about the banking and the housing crisis a little bit. So yeah. Like
And
basically though,
it's just him like he's putting out like it's like a thing where he's buying time on like prime time and he's offering like a $400 billion reward to anybody who can solve the financial crisis or has any good ideas to solve it.
Yeah,
that's basically like the whole idea of it. And he's like taking phone calls about it.
Yeah, they're in this huge crisis, but they can't figure out a solution to this banking crisis, and so they even have a phone number that's like 1-800-IDEAS to call. So but basically though, let's see. Oh yeah, so he like breaks down all the math of it too. Where he's like, so if 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 people, like what would all the math be? So it's like if one person comes with the idea, obviously they get the $420 billion. If 2 people, they would split it down the middle. If 3 people come with it, they split it 3 ways, and like he'd like do all the math for it. And we're like, all right, we get it.
Yeah, but then,
right. The first caller this guy Gary from Bolingbrook, Illinois, where he's like, we have our first caller. Hello, Gary. What is your plan to save the crisis in our banking system? He's like, I think the federal government should agree to assume all the bank's loans on the books of the national banks. That way the bank can start lending again, and people would know it's safe to leave their money there. And he's like, say Gary, well, that's pretty good. Get rid of all the bad loans.
Do I get the money now? When do I get the money?
Yeah, right. He's like, they get the $420 billion. He's like, well, not just yet. You have to hear what ideas other people have. But I would say that you're looking good, Gary. You're looking really good. But yeah, so people keep calling to give all the different ideas. But my favorite one, I just wanted to highlight, like one of their call was you have Kenan Thompson calling as a Nigerian prince. So like he calls up, and it's like one of those kind of like scam calls where like people try to like steal all your money. But he's like,
yeah,
we're playing Prince Nakumo, voiced by Kenan Thompson. He's like, hello, Tim. How are you tonight? He's like, I'm doing great. Now, what's your plan, Nakumo? Well, do you have a minute? It's somewhat complicated. He's like, sure, go ahead. He's like, okay. Well, I'm a Nigerian prince currently living in exile in Europe. Now, back in Nigeria, there's a fortune of nearly $700 million which belongs to me. But in order to claim it, I need a certain amount of cash for like government fees and payment to Nigerian officials. He's like, well, how much cash would you need, Nakumo? He's like, about $175 million. He's like, say, suppose the U.S. Treasury would front you the $175,000. You be willing to give us a portion of the $175,000? He's like, absolutely. In fact, I was just going to propose something along those lines. He's like, fantastic. Now, don't hang up, Nakumo. I'm going to transfer you to one of our operators, and she'll take down your information. He's like, that'll be fine, Tim. Thank you. So it's like this whole scam like thing. He's trying to pull on him. So yeah, that was it.
My favorite thing was Bill Hader calls as like a Southern guy, and he's like, so Tim, if I was to give you the idea, would you give me like half the money now and half afterwards? Something like that, half up front. Yeah. He's trying to like negotiate at least a partial portion of money. He goes, well, what if somebody takes my idea and uses it? And would I still get credit for it and a little bit of the money? And like he's running down all these scenarios, and it's just like him going back and forth with Tim. And he's like, I don't know, that might work like that. But yeah, it was an okay premise. Like I thought it went on like about 2 minutes too long. Like I think it could have done without 1 or 2 in the middle. Like because once you get the idea of the sketch, it's like okay, I get it. Like they don't know what to do and they're freaking out. Like okay. I get it. Yeah. But I mean, it was okay. But this is not one I revisited very much when I was revisiting the episodes before the show. So yeah.
Well, there's a certain era of Saturday Night Live that I feel like kind of relies too heavily on all this political stuff, and like here we're like kind of in the middle of all of it. So like basically like started from like when when George W. Bush became president, like up until probably now, still they like still kind of do it. So like but they started to kind of taper off ever since Donald Trump got out of office because like they can't use him as much. I mean, they still can, but they don't as much. So, but it's starting to taper off a little. But
there wasn't much they could do. There wasn't much they could do with Obama either, because there just wasn't much like comedy there. There was comedy with Bush, there was comedy with Trump. Like there wasn't much comedy with like Obama or now like Biden. Biden's just kind of like boring, and he just kind of gaps every now and then. You know what I mean? Like there's not much comedy premise there. And as we'll see with the other, we'll see like a sketch with Obama in it, but they do something unique with it that's like a good premise. But basically, we get our. We didn't, The Rock wasn't in the cold open, but he finally gets here for the monologue.
Yeah, and the opening monologue, it was a great opening monologue if you're into musicals, which I'm really not. I'm not into musicals, no. So like basically like it's a big musical number of like Dwayne just like coming out and like singing a song about how he's a tough guy and like flexing all of his muscles, and then you have Kristen Wiig and Abby Elliott come on. Like a cabaret type outfit. They're like dancing alongside him. And then at one point, you have all the ladies from Saturday Night Live that come on. They start doing like some of those chair dances and stuff. And then like that's pretty much it though. Like you have one part where they have Fred Armisen come out and like like as his gay trainer / roommate / choreographer, they say. He's like, you brute, and he's like pounding on his chest kind of thing. He's like, he's like doing that.
But like thing is, he's singing a song about how he's a tough guy, but he's wearing this like goofy gay cabaret outfit essentially while he's doing it, and like doing all these like feminine poses and stuff. I'm a tough guy. I'm in movies, but he's like he's dancing like a stripper or something. Like that's the idea. Like it was okay. It was okay, but if you remember. There's a better one where he sings a song. If you remember, like I think it's the episode he hosted Next Time where he does the franchise Viagra song, which everybody remembers. Where he's talking about how he's franchise Viagra. Like if you insert him into your franchise, like it'll, boost it because it was around the time he did like G.I. Joe and Fast and Furious and like made those movies bigger, So I remember that, let's say, more fondly than this one for sure.
Yeah, same. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but basically, though, you get into the first sketch. So we have a series of MacGruber sketches, which is awesome. Like I freaking love my.
Well, MacGruber is in the intro for the show, so we actually get some MacGruber here. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And like for me, like I'm just a huge MacGruber fan. Like even the movie, all the sketches.
The movie is underrated. The movie's really underrated.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it is too.
Like it's but like good. It's one of the better SNL movies. Yeah, for sure.
And the cool thing too, it's not a spoiler because he pretty much shows up instantly. But you have Richard Dean Anderson who played the original MacGyver in all the sketches with him, which is funny. Like he's playing MacGruber's dad, and so like basically though, you just cut to the first scene, just set at a toxic oil refinery, and you have Kristen Wiig. It's like we're doing like typical like. Like, oh, MacGruber, the store's welded shut, and from the looks of this dynamite, we only have 20 seconds. Come on. She's like freaking out. And then
she's always doing every sketch. She's always just like, 10 seconds, MacGruber, 20 seconds. And every time, it's a retread every time because every time he'll go like, give me the gum wrapper, and she'll be like, you got it, MacGruber. She'll over the top, like hand him like the whatever. Give me that toothpick. You got it, MacGruber. Here you go, MacGruber. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, I think most people have seen MacGruber sketches like by now. So I mean, you get the idea, but but this one, like I said, it's unique because it has like flashbacks within the 10-second thing, back to MacGyver. So,
but 1 second, but So like basically though, he's like doing the whole typical thing where it's like just stay calm because everything I need to defuse the bomb is inside this room. All right, Vicky, now pass me that pen cap or whatever. And then he's like, new guy, what's your name? He's like, MacGyver. He's like, MacGyver.
That's a stupid name.
Yeah, and he's like, MacGyver. Yeah. Pass me that thumbtack. He's like, well, I'll go with the gum wrapper. He's like, I don't care about what you're saying. Whatever. He's like, well, I'm just saying, that I do it a little differently. He's like, well, MacGyver, you're not MacGruber, okay? So,
Yeah.
but like, and he's like, that's what you think. And then
They
he's
did
like,
the flashback.
he's like, what's that supposed to mean? And then like Vicky's like, 10 seconds, come on. And then like flashback, he's like, it was a cold December night. And then you like cut to the scene showing MacGruber being born, and they names him MacGruber. You have Jason Sudeikis playing the doctor, and he's like, "You want to name him MacGruber MacGyver?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "All right." He's like,
Yeah.
He's like, "Don't you worry, MacGruber. Nothing bad is ever going to happen to you. Not on my watch." And it's like MacGyver.
Bang!
And like,
There's always an explosion right at the end. There's always like an awkward
MacGyver.
Yeah. Bang! MacGyver, and then he goes, "Dad, MacGruber," like immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always an explosion right at the end at like the awkward time, and they just blow up. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so like basically too, like when it cuts back out of the flashback, and he's like, "Dad," you see like a little picture of him standing next to MacGyver, and he has a mullet or something like an old time like haircut, but then it just explodes when he says "Dad." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's end, or that's the end.
Well,
so,
that's part 1 of 3.
Right. Part 1 of 3. But the next one that we have is the Barack Obama, which is a pretty famous sketch. So
yeah, well, and this is one that he went on to do at least 3 times, if not 4. I know he did it at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Because it's always kind of interesting when a host gets like a recurring character. It's kind of rare, but we've seen it with like Tom Hanks. We've seen it with Dan Aykroyd had a couple of recurring. When a character
Steve
takes
Martin,
off and they're able to redo it, you know what I mean? It's always kind of interesting. But yeah, this is the first appearance of the Barack Obama. But yeah, it's basically Fred Armisen doing his really terrible Obama impression. Like, This was always bad. Really, like it got better. Well, the impression got better once Jay Farrow took it over, who's actually a really great like master impressionist. Once he started doing it later on when he came on the show. But like Fred Armisen's is terrible. Like it's really bad. But anyways, like it's just him but Sandberg on the other hand doing Rahm Emanuel is a lot of fun. I thought his thing was great.
Yeah, and to just interject real quick, is that like so I read a little thing about like when Obama entered office, like they weren't really sure who was going to actually play him to do the impression, because that they always do like parodies of whatever president in office at the time, but they didn't really have anyone, so they're just like, all right, well, Fred, do you want to do it? And like I don't even think Fred Armisen really wanted to do it, but they didn't really have anyone else. So like I'll just do it until we can find someone. So And
once they had, because I do remember there's like, I think the 3rd time he does the Rock Obama, it's Jay Farrow doing it. Yeah. And Jay Farrow turns into the Rock. So I do remember that distinctly, because also, what's her name? The other black chick who came on the show, like was playing Michelle Obama as well. You know what I mean? And she turns into Leslie Jones, and she turns into Leslie Jones, like the female, like Barack Obama kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So, and then, which makes sense because she muscles out with Leslie Jones. So, I remember that distinctly. But but this is like, the kind of less said about his impression of Obama, the better, because it's not very good. But the whole thing is just like, it's like 7 weeks in office, like he's barely in office, and then they bring in like the couple of senators like Will Forte and Daryl Hammond and Kristen Wiig, and they're just like, it's been 7 weeks, like shouldn't you have fixed the economy by now? And you see him like just kind of stewing and like getting mad, and like Daryl Hammond's just like, I mean, come on, there may have been some problems with the previous administration, but it's your responsibility now. And you just see him like stewing, he's just like, and then Rahm is just like, Rahm is over on the side. He's like, I'm just being like, get angry. That's it. Get angry.
Get mad. Yeah.
Get mad.
Get mad.
Like,
get angry. Yeah.
And so eventually they finally piss him off, and you see this like kind of transformation sequence almost like in a werewolf movie or something, like all the clothes are ripping up and like the shoes are breaking apart, and and you see this thing, and then it cuts to The Rock is sitting, rah! and it's like, you made him mad, and when you break Barack Obama mad, he turns into the Rock Obama. Yeah. Which I thought this is a pretty genius idea for a sketch, like to tie in like The Rock, and honestly his Obama is better than Armison's. Like even just doing like the Hulk like version is still better. Like he's got the timing better. So like he's pretty good.
He does.
But yeah, he comes out. He's just like, Rock Obama, much like Barack Obama. Very much the same, only stronger and more impulsive.
Yeah.
Which I remember in later sketches he'd be like, much like Barack Obama, just bigger and more violent, things like that.
Yeah.
he would just kind of throw a variation on it or whatever, like every time he showed up. But everybody's of course like the senators are all freaking out, like on the couch, like quivering and like cowering, and Rahm Emanuel the whole time is just going like,
no be alarmed. Yeah.
Well, he's just like
Obama. Yeah.
They always cut to Rahm though, and he's just like smiling and nodding, just like he's enjoying every second of it. Yeah. So he goes, you little man in suit. And he's just like, well, I was just gonna say that there's no reason we can't like compromise or something like that. And he's just like, okay. And then eventually he gets pissed off at him and throws him out the window. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, like grabs him and just like chucks him out, and then then it cuts to Andy Samberg with like a big dumb creepy grin on his face, like yeah. No, he was he almost stole the sketch for me. Like as good as The Rock is in this one, Andy Samberg just is like over exaggerated, just like smiling and nodding. It just really made me laugh every time they cut to it, because he's just like he's almost like orgasmic in how much he's enjoying it. Right.
Like, he's just like So then he goes to Kristen Wiig, and she's just like, well, I mean,
next up, lady, you.
You're you, lady. And I forget what she says. She said something, and he goes, and he instead of
sorry, I'm a little nervous.
He's like, don't be nervous. You just be nice. Be nice. And
he just picks her up and throws her out the window.
Well, he doesn't he just kind of drops her, and then Daryl Hammond's freaking out, but then it cuts back to Rahm Emanuel, and he just goes, don't worry about it. It's just the first floor.
Yeah.
He's like, so they're not trying to say like threw him out like a 3-story window. It's just like, it's just the first floor. Don't worry about it.
He's like, okay, old man, you go now. And he's like,
you go now.
He's like,
he gets the phone call first. Doesn't he get the phone call first? What?
Oh yeah, he might get a phone call.
Yeah, he gets the phone call and he goes, what? AIG need more money? 40 billion? Here you go. And he just like slams the phone down. And that's what Daryl Hammond's like. He's like panicking, like when they cut back to him, and he's just like, you go. And he's like, I was just gonna say you're not gonna have any problems from me.
From me.
It's
like, I'll just show myself out.
Oh yes, out window.
Yes, out window. And he's like, is he serious? And then it cuts to Andy Samberg. He's like, yes. See you later, my friend. And he's like all like excited, but then you see Joe Hammond just throw himself out the window, just kind of walks over and just jumps out.
Just jumps out the window.
Yeah.
And then here was the oddest thing, and coming back to the sketch, they revealed that it was a dream sequence.
Oh yeah,
which is not the case in the other two Barack Obama sketches.
Right.
So I don't know if this was just a thing where the writers, like when they went back to this character,
crazy dream of Andy Samberg,
they just scrapped that idea altogether. I didn't remember the first one; they pretended like it was a dream, but in the other two, they definitely don't do that. So like, it's just strange. Like it was a strange ending, and he's just like, "Are you ever gonna get mad?" And Obama, like Armison's just like, "Nope, not gonna get mad. Nope." He's just like, "Damn," and like that's basically the end of it. But I did not remember the first one ending with the dream thing. Like that was just odd to me.
Yeah,
so I didn't remember that.
It's a little different, but the next one that I have is
MacGruber 2.
It was a MacGruber sketch number 2, and my favorite thing too is every time that they cut back, they change the lyrics to the intro too to like
they always do
to the last one. Yeah, whereas like MacGruber, he's working with his dad now, and they've never been closer. MacGruber, they've been talking about sharing an apartment. MacGruber.
Together, MacGruber. His dad's a
MacGyver's
fucking
dad is
hero.
perfect.
MacGruber.
Yeah.
MacGruber.
Yeah.
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 So but this one basically it's like the main crux of it is like, again, it's the same situation. Vicky's going, we got 10 seconds, whatever. Like, we don't need to recap that every time. Like, it's the same. It's the same setup every single time. But the main crux of it is there's another flashback with MacGyver, and like it's about him like taking off, like leaving his wife with like the baby or whatever, and it's him like being abandoned as a kid. Like, that's like the crux of it, and they're going back and forth while there's like a bomb about to go off, because of course there is. So yeah.
Yeah. And then like before the flashback though, he's like asking to like hand him stuff. He's like now Dad, hand me that gum wrapper over there. He's like, here you go, MacGruber. Now turn it over. I wrote you a little note, and he like
Right.
reads it.
This is I love you, right?
Yeah. He's like, I love you too, Daddy. And then he like cut to Vicky with like an awkward smile on it. He's like, Vicky, now hand me the toothpick. He's like, you got it. And then he's like, Dad, how much do you love me?
A bunch,
a
bunch, or a little bitty?
Right? He's like, a little bitty bit or a bunchy bunch. He's like, a bunchy bunch, MacGruber. Great. And then just keep going,
Yeah.
He's like, wait, then why did you abandon me? And then it goes back to like the flashback.
Like, yeah.
Like, well, it's a long story. We've got time, but like they only had like 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a cold December night, and then they cut to the home in like 1973, and it's like him leaving his wife for like some stripper named Lacey, and they're like, Lacey, who's Lacey? He's like, the perfect name for the perfect stripper. And then right. He goes to go out the door. He's like, the handle's stuck, and it's like MacGyver, and it explodes or whatever.
He goes, oh my God, my dad's a dick. Boom, MacGruber.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Or he goes to leave, or MacGyver goes to leave, and he's like, the door's locked, and then it blows up, and it's like MacGruber. Yeah. So yeah.
That's the end of that.
That was basically just part 2. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, like, of course, they begin and end like all the same. It's just like there's always like a progression of a story throughout the 3. So if you were to watch them back to back, like in order, you know what I mean? There's like a little story thread between all of them or something.
I'm kind of curious. Like when they usually have episodes with a MacGruber sketch, they usually do like a 3-part kind of thing.
I don't know if they did at first, but I know as the character picked up steam, they would do this 3-part thing throughout the entire show. Because usually it was definitely like a highlight of the show, because usually it was pretty well written, you know what I mean, and pretty good. And I always got a good response. So I don't know if it started out that way. Like, I don't know what the first episode that had a MacGruber sketch in it was. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, like they eventually got to where it was just like it was literally a 3-part thing, like every show. Like they would just keep cutting to it in between. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the next sketch we have the Activia commercial with Kristen Wiig playing Jamie Lee Curtis.
This was a reprise because she had done this character like a few episodes before this, like done the Jamie Lee Curtis thing. So this is essentially almost exact. Because I went up and looked the original one up. This is the same sketch basically, just with another person, just with somebody with her talking to a guest on the couch instead of just her by herself. Because the whole premise of the first original one was she's pounding Activia yogurts and she poops herself. Like that's the whole premise of the first sketch. Like that's the joke. And this one, it's exactly the same, except it's multiple people pooping their pants. Like that's literally the only difference. That's the only difference. So like it's okay, but like it drags on. Like I get it. They poop themselves. Like okay, it's hilarious. You know what I mean? Okay. I thought it was unnecessary to come back to this, but anyways, like I thought the most interesting thing about this was we get a John Mulaney cameo, like an on-air cameo. He plays like the guy that's like, Activia, take one, action, whatever, that guy.
You got the clapper thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was like, the first time I watched this, I was like, John Mulaney. I was like, there you go.
And then you just have them like saying just like random lines about like how much they love the yogurt and that it's okay that people poop themselves and stuff. Like she talks about how she gets paid when yogurt for the commercial, but she doesn't care because she just loves the yogurt so much. And And she's like, what can I say? People need to poop. You know, she keeps saying that like over and over again.
Well,
and even Jason Sudeikis,
the funniest thing to me was the funniest thing to me is she's literally like she's pounding these yogurts.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
she's like constantly just like scooping. Can I get another yogurt? Can I get another one? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She's literally like over like one after another. Like I was surprised. Like Kristen Wiig had to legitimately like eat like 5 yogurts in a row for this sketch. Like it was nuts. Like,
yeah,
right. Like I don't know how she didn't make herself like gag or throw up. You know what I mean? Like it was just like she was legitimately like eating all these yogurts.
No, she didn't poop herself in real life, right?
Right.
Sure.
She probably did. She probably had a good one after the show. I'd imagine, like an hour later.
Yeah, right. Because like one of the things is, she's like she's talking to like the like new girl who's played by Abby Elliott, and then.
Who, by the way, I have to say, I had a huge crush on Abby Elliott around this time. Like I thought she's like ridiculously cute. I don't know. I thought she's one of the cutest like cast members. Like I don't know. I had like a thing for her around this time for sure. But yeah.
Was she related to Chris Elliott? Like I think they might be siblings.
Yeah, she's Chris Elliott's daughter. She's Chris Elliott's daughter.
Daughter, okay, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. But
Chris Elliott, SNL alum, Chris Elliott. Yes.
Yep. Exactly. But like one of the lines, she's like talking to Elliott, Abby Elliott, and she's like, the set of an activity commercial is a no judgment zone where people can just poop themselves willy nilly and feel proud of it or whatever. She's like, like saying all those kind of wacky things, and then you just kind of cut back to like different people that keep pooping themselves. But even with the John Mulaney thing, when he like comes in, he's like activity commercial, take 2, and then you have Jason Sudeikis, and he's like no pun intended, take 2 or whatever for like number 2 or whatever. But then but yeah, like pretty much all it is you're just cutting back and forth, and then like every time someone poops their pants, like Kristen Wiig like have a little celebration. They
pooped themselves. Woo!
Yeah, like she was like, "That's my girl. She pooped her pants and she's proud of it," or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
They had one line that was clever where Kristen as Jamie Lee was like, you know how like when one person yawns, and then like. You know, the whole thing is just like it's contagious. Yeah, that's because even Jason Sudeikis like starts pooping himself as the director or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really go anywhere. That's kind of like the joke of the sketch. It's just they all poop themselves and that's it. Like I don't know what else to say about the sketch. That's the whole joke. Like I don't know. I thought the most amusing thing was her pounding the yogurts the whole sketch. I thought that was the most amusing thing, to be honest.
If you like bathroom humor, like it's a funny thing for that, but I mean, it's not really.
Vince McMahon would like it because he's a big fan of bathroom humor, so I'm sure he would love this sketch. Probably make him laugh and laugh.
Yeah, my mom would really like it. Like she's always into bathroom humor for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just like something that like she grew up just laughing with her siblings.
Link her this sketch and laugh away, Mom.
Yeah, right. But. Like there were some kind of subtle lines from Jason Sudeikis where like at the very end he's like yeah, let's take a 5 dude to a number 2 this time, pun intended, take 5. So like he just has those little lines in there, but that's pretty much all it is though. That's the end of it. So the next one we cut to the Rock and Fred Armisen at the Hawaiian resort singing like the little Hawaiian songs.
This is one I remembered pretty thoroughly even before coming back to this one, mainly because of the song they're doing. Because like they're it's like they're at some like they're at like a tiki bar, like at a Hawaiian resort kind of a thing, you know, entertaining the tourists, you know, and it's just them in like these grass skirts, and he's got like a ukulele. It's like the song where it's just like hano hano hanole, you know, da da da, and so
excuse me,
but yeah, the whole thing was just that's all right. Just the whole thing of them, they're just going from like table to table. And they start like singing the song, and of course the tourists are like all into it, you know, and everything at first. But then basically the whole thing is like, just they just insult every person that they go to, you know, just for being like cliche tourists, you know, for the most part. Because you know they go to the first one, right, and it's like, oh, it must be so nice, you know, working here and so peaceful. He's like, oh yeah, it's great. We play the same song for $7 an hour, and we sing songs for fat white tourists. You know, it's just so original. It's so great.
Yeah, like I just like the way that. Like The Rock plays it though, like he just plays it so good because like one of the funniest things Like it sounds like they're just making up this Hawaiian song. Like they have the kind of melody, but they're just kind of like
no, they're just totally like they're just mumbling. Yeah, they're just like mumbling their way through it every time. Like it's the same melody, but yeah, they're just going yeah. But every time they hit the insult and they immediately go into the song. Like that's the funny part.
Yeah,
of the transition.
But like one of the funniest things is that. Like the Rock can actually sing, but then you have Fred Armisen. He sounds like he's like mentally challenged when he's singing. He's like, yeah,
he's doing this weird like deep voice, like, yeah. He's not talking like that, so it's really weird because he's just talking in his normal voice, like when he's doing the insults, you know?
Yeah,
he's talking like so. Yeah, it was
kind of funny though. It's like how he just kind of he's like talking normal, and all of a sudden he's like mentally challenged or something. It's like okay, but like one of the first ones, though, like the Rock is like, here's a fun fact about Hawaii. Our biggest export is coffee, and our biggest import is fat white tourists. And then he just like has this like cheesy cheesy smile. He's like, no.
Yeah, they just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, you're from like Cincinnati or Cleveland or something. He's like, we used to have a name for those people, garbage. And then it's like, Hano, and then they just keep moving on again.
Yeah, like one of them was like, let me ask you something. When you go to a restaurant in Boston, is it acceptable to wear Crocs and a bathing suit? And then like Bill Hader, like one of them, he's like, what? He's like, oh, in this the way we have a saying for people like that, garbage. Yeah.
Garbage, yeah.
That one. Yeah.
Wasn't he sitting with Casey Wilson, who I also had a crush on at this time, who has an amazing set of cleavage in this scene?
Oh, yeah.
Like her shirt is like wide open this scene. I was like, oh my God. I'd forgotten how cute Casey Wilson was too, or that she was on the show at this time. But yeah, and they go on to like Andy Samberg and Kristen Wiig like at the bar. They're still doing the song, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's great. We live in a pickup, broken down like old pickup truck on the side of the road. So you just take a ride at the pickup truck, and you pass the 15-year-old girl who's pregnant on the side of the road, who got knocked up by a old rich tourist or whatever, and then you'll run into her brother, which is me, and it's like the Rock going,
me,
yeah. And then they just immediately like they're horrified, and they just go, Hano, like they just walk away again.
Yeah,
like the whole thing is just they always get hitting the song like right at the awkward pause.
And the look on like Andy Samberg and Kristen Wiig's face, it's just like so funny. They look like they just got like pooped on. Speaking of the poop from the last one, like they just
Oh my God! Yeah,
I'm like, whoa, whatever.
I thought one of the best things was they pass Daryl Hammond, who's just sitting by himself with just like blank stare, and he's just like, please, guys, skip me. I hate this kind of stuff. Please skip me. And he goes, respect. All right, they just move along.
Yeah.
And then they get to like Keenan and Sudeikis, right, playing like the frat boy.
Yeah, like the frat boys, and then like they're just talking to him, and then like he just. Like keeps knocking their
knocks their drinks over in their lap.
2 little tiki drinks, yeah. They're like this. Yeah, they're like they're like check it out, guys, Lay's. And he's like, the second we got off the airplane, we got laid, and they high five each other. And the Rock just kind of looks at him. He's like, and he just knocks his drinks over. Like, no. Yeah.
And I think the last one they hit is like they go back to the bar and they like start insulting them. I forget what they say, but then like the lady, whoever's sitting in the bar just goes, all right, well, aloha. And he goes, oh, aloha. Yeah, aloha. It's nice that you learned our language. Aloha's a lot of meetings, especially suck it. Yeah, aloha. Yeah, that's what it means. Suck it. So he goes. So I what I say to you, aloha hard. Aloha hard.
Hard.
Yeah. And then hano. Yeah. And then just before they leave, they knock the drinks over one more time and like set it up again.
One last time on their way out the door. Yep.
And then they just make a remark to each other where they're like, you know what? I kind of have a good time doing this with you, buddy, or whatever, despite it being a horrible job or something like that.
Yeah.
And they just like on the way out, he just knocks the drinks over again before they like leave the scene. Like it's a pretty it's a pretty amusing sketch. Like you have to see it for the way like the Rock's like facial expressions and his little dances he's doing like the whole time, because he'll go from like being like all angry and mean to just like popping like the weird smile like as he's like dances away or whatever and like shuffles away. Yeah.
Yep.
So then
Yeah,
we
so the
get
next one,
the finale, the MacGruber finale for the MacGyver thing. Yeah.
yeah, so the like lyrics of the intro are like pretty funny. Where it's like MacGruber, their father-son relationship has gone into the
Gone to
dumper.
the dumper.
It's like MacGruber. He wishes that his dad never reversed his vasectomy. MacGruber.
MacGruber, yeah. His dad's a freaking
Dad's a
butthole.
MacGruber,
MacGruber.
yeah. Like it takes place on a hijacked cocaine tanker. I thought that was pretty funny. Like, what's a hijacked?
They always just make
cocaine
up like the
tanker?
weirdest like movie things. Yeah, because the original one, it's like when they're having the baby, even it's like an abandoned hospital. It's like why? It's an abandoned hospital with a bomb in it.
Yeah, right. And then like the whole stuff with the Vicky, like it's the same every time, except for they always change the like type of like bomb that it is. So like one time it's like a C4 explosive, the next time it's like dynamite.
It's like
And then on
dynamite.
this one, they have a dirty bomb or something. So yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But he's like, don't worry, Vicky, because I will get the two of us out of here. Now hand me the electrical wire, because like he's like pissed off at his dad.
Mhm.
But he's like, okay, Vicky, tell the person on your right to hand me that paper clip, and then tell him to take a very long walk off a very short pier.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
like,
And doesn't he start talking about like MacGyver starts talking about how, well, we wanted a girl and guess what? We got one or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
He's just making fun of him being like a pansy guy or whatever. And he's like,
Yeah.
and he's like, eventually in the future, sometime in the future, he's like, I'm gonna put your ashes into a toilet and take a dump on it or something like that. And then
Yeah.
it does like the
Well,
flash forward or something before that. Sorry.
Well, like how he says it though, like it's just hilarious. Where he's like, Vicky, tell the same guy that when he dies, I will scatter his ashes in my toilet, and then we'll scatter something else over that. I'm just like so.
And then it doesn't do a flash forward to like 2040,
Yeah.
and he's actually like on a spaceship taking like a space dump in a toilet.
Yeah.
With the ashes. He's like old MacGruber with like these glasses and like gray hair.
Yeah, and like the funny part is that like you see him like take the whole dump, and then he flushes it, and then he like gets up and he like you see him trying to pull up his pants. You can see his butt and everything, and like right when it shows his butt, that's when it explodes. He's like MacGruber, and then you see like his like bare butt. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good, but
yeah,
but yeah, that's pretty much where it ends. I guess we never get a resolution to the
no, they just
MacGruber MacGyver, because it's 2040 and they don't like each other anymore.
Got a strained relationship. Yeah, they never made up.
No pun intended with the strain part, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, but
yeah.
But so the next thing that I have was a performance from Ray LaMontagne, and like I didn't really care too much for his music, so like I just put like Ray LaMontagne performing some rock or some yacht rock or whatever. I just
and this was the work. I looked it up and it was one of my work songs, so I immediately skipped it as fast as I possibly could. I clicked off of it.
For it. Yeah,
that's bad.
But the next thing that we have was Weekend Update with Seth Meyers. So
yeah, so Seth Meyers, it's it was kind of after in that awkward period after Amy Poehler left the show, because for a while, it was Weekend Update with Seth and Amy, when they would do like the real sketches and things like that. And this was kind of the awkward period where he was like by himself for a little while until I guess who took over after him? Was it after that? Was it Colin Jost? Because he did it for a while, right? And then like Colin Jost
did do it for a while, yeah.
He did it for like years, like for a long time. But anyways, I mean he's okay. Like I think the writing's pretty strong here for the most part. I thought there was I didn't write down a ton of the jokes, but I thought overall the jokes were pretty funny. I just had one note. They do a joke about city stock being like under $1 with all like everything crashing or whatever, and then just for fun, I looked up what it is right now, and it's $75 now. So they bounce back eventually.
Wow, nice. But yeah, like this is a pretty long Weekend Update because they had three different like segments where they had some guests come in, but like some of like jokes. I wrote down a couple of jokes where the very first one It was like, this week President Obama met with Brad Pitt in the White House, so I think everything is going to be okay because it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah. They make a joke about the Keenan character, Michael Steele, before he comes on, about like about Michael Steele being hip to where like he once got busy in a Burger King bathroom, which is a Humpty Dance reference, which again, almost like a weird parallel to real life, where we just lost Shock G from doing the Humpty Dance guy like a few months ago or something. Like he just died. So again, it was like one of those weird parallels, kind of like when we were talking about the Jesse Jackson reading Dr. Seuss thing, and like present day, like people were having a big hoopla over Dr. Seuss. Like I don't plan on these; it just kind of happens, you know. So yeah, that was a happy coincidence. Yeah, and then they bring on Keenan playing Michael Steele, who was this like GOP like spokesperson guy who tried to be like really hip all the time. Like I remember this. Like he was really, it was really cringe. Like he was always trying to be like, "What's up, players? Like we were down with the GOP." I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cringe."
Like no.
Like some like 60-year-old guy just like trying to be like hip to the audience. And the whole thing with him is he comes on and he's got like a buzzer in the back of his head. Like every time he says something, every time it's like a shot collar. Like every time they don't want him to say he says something wrong, like it like shocks and jolts him. So he'll be talking about like Rush Limbaugh, and it'll be like, after all, Rush Limbaugh is just an entertainer. A great entertainer. A beacon of truth and light in these dark times. You know,
in these dark times.
So
like I think that there was a whole thing that like the like little like electro thing was implanted by like Rush Limbaugh and his people, so like you can't say anything negative about them. So every time it's something, even like remotely, that's like even close to like shock him. Yeah.
Well, and another one, he was like, because the GOP is also about helping the poor. Helping the poor help themselves. Helping the poor CEOs and businessmen help themselves. You know. And then it finally stops, and eventually it's just like, I'm gonna go on, CNN and talk about the issues. Resign immediately, and then it's just like,
right. Resign.
So it's a pretty simple premise, but I thought Keenan had a good. He was good in this little bit. He was funny.
Yeah, like one of my favorite things though is when Kenan Thompson comes on to do these characters during Weekend Update. There's just some of them that are so funny. Like I don't know if you ever seen him come on as LeVar Ball. He's like talking about
But like
my
big son,
brand,
how dare you? My boys is the greatest. All that kind of stuff. Yeah.
The greatest basketball player ever, and I gotta promote my big baller shoe brand. Come on now.
Yeah. I always liked. Do you remember when he would do like the French Def Jam comedian, like shock something or whatever?
Yeah.
And just he would always be like Zootaloy. He would always do like the little the Def Jam dance. Yeah, like I thought that was like he's always Keenan's really like low key, like one of the best performers SNL's ever had. I think I put him in my top 10 when we talked about that early on. Like I think he's really. Because literally he's almost been on there for 20 years now, and he's been pretty solid the whole time. Yeah. So
he's still on there. Like a lot of people thought.
Oh yeah.
That maybe he might have left the show, but he's doing a sitcom now. He's still there. Yeah. He's doing a sitcom.
I think they just filmed the season during the off season, and then there you go. He's like right back on SNL. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I haven't seen the sitcom though. I don't know if it's any good or not. I haven't watched any of it.
I haven't seen it either, but it has the one other black guy from SNL that's like currently on there.
Michael Che or the other guy?
The other guy,
Chris Redd. Chris Redd.
Yeah, Chris Redd's on there. Yeah, he's on there.
Chris Redd's pretty good.
But like they had an interview. Like I'm trying to remember where I saw the interview with Kenan Thompson, but basically like. He just said that like Saturday Night Live was his ultimate dream. He grew up. We grew up doing sketch comedy with like all that and everything, and like that's what he wants to do for the rest of his life. So he's just in it for the long haul. Like if he could be there until the end of Saturday Night Live, he would do it.
And he's only done little small movies here and there, or like appearances in movies. Because I think like the last time he did like a big feature movie was the Fat Albert movie, maybe like that might have been his last like starring role, and that was like 10 years ago. So he's done little cameos here and there, but I guess it's like, he came from all that and like Kenan and Kel and stuff. So if he just likes doing sketch comedy and characters and stuff, like because he's really kind of a shy guy in real life. If you ever seen interviews with him, he's really kind of like
he is a little bit
and like kind of quiet and stuff. So like I guess it's just his way of like being able to kind of be over the top and, you know, expressive and just kind of go crazy, you know, with stuff just in the character work, you know, and he's done well for himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done great, but I don't know if you got to see the next character when they have Andy Samberg come on as Kathy from the comic strip Kathy. Did you get to see even that part?
I didn't see this particular one, but I'm familiar with him doing Kathy. Yeah, because I've seen him do it over the years. You know what I mean? He's always just like pulling the hair out, just like, oh,
the hair up,
Sky Blue, like, you know, just kind of like, gosh, ooh, you know, like, the kind of like going crazy. Yeah.
Oh, gee. Or like it'll be like sweat drop, or like frustration squiggle, or like confident point, or
it's a pretty good little character.
Yeah, but the part that you probably didn't get to see it when they had Justin Timberlake come on, that got cut from the Peacock version. You have Justin Timberlake come on as his Kathy's husband Irving, I guess, and so they're like talking about how he and Kathy are gonna go make sweet love in all these different cartoonish ways, or like, and then what he says, he's like, I swear on the life of Charles M. Schultz himself that if Jessica Rabbit walked in here, I wouldn't even blink. And then you see Jessica Biel walk in as Jessica Rabbit. He starts blinking like crazy. He's like just doing it over and over and over again. So like that, but like, I'm surprised that they even cut that, because like literally all she does is just walk through it, and he's just blinking like crazy, and that's it. Then it's over. So
that and the whole Kathy thing like was just cut out of the episode. Again, I don't know why, because I've seen the Kathy thing on other episodes, so it can't be that. I don't know. Maybe it's just a time thing. Like maybe some of these Peacock episodes that can't go over like 52 minutes or something, and like literally they have to cut, you know, 2 minutes here or like a minute there or something. So sometimes they just cut like a random thing on a Weekend Update or something, you know, just to make the time. Like I don't know what it is, weird, but whatever. But yeah, I did see the John Bovey thing, which was okay.
Yeah, like it was okay. Like I didn't find it like
I didn't find it that amusing either. Like I didn't take a whole lot of notes about it because I didn't want to write down like all the lyrics. It's basically just them singing like reverse Bon Jovi songs. Basically, the titles were they sing, instead of Dead or Alive, they sing Alive and Dead. So they're like, oh, Alive and Dead, and then instead of Living on a Prayer, it's just Dying on a Prayer. You know, dying on a prayer. Well, I mean, it was okay, but like I'm not gonna recreate all the stuff. Like it was all right. I mean, you could tell Forte and Sudeikis were having fun with it. You know what I mean? Like they probably had fun like writing all the backwards lyrics and stuff. But like it was okay. It was all right.
Yeah, they even talk about the previous band they used to be a part of called AA Bottom, which is like take on like ZZ Top. It's like the opposite.
ZZ Top, AA Bottom. Yeah. I know. I liked all the puns, but like that was really the only part that like amused me, was just how they were gonna twist it, you know, twist the lyrics or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, there's one more a joke from Seth Meyers that I got that like came after the Jessica Rabbit thing, where he says, it was reported this week that a female athlete in China who has won dozens of medals in multiple competitions has given them back after she discovered that she'd really a man. Though she should have realized something was wrong, she kept knocking down the high jump bar with her testicles. I was like, okay,
right.
yeah. But that's the only other.
There was some other joke I wrote down where it was about, he was talking about like there was a government division called like the Department of Aging, but it was just a picture of Denny's or something. That. And that's where they have their like headquarters or something like that. It was just at a Denny's. So I thought that was kind of amusing. But yeah, other than that, like again, I didn't write down a lot of jokes, but most of them were pretty solid. I mean, the writing around this time was pretty good because again, John Mulaney, who we talked about, was one of the head writers, and like he was pretty clever, especially trying to make like just clever puns, and like you know, he was one of the guys always trying to like screw up like Bill Hader and stuff like that. So yeah. And for the next thing, so I just wrote Ray LaMontagne performs again, and that's all I wrote. On to the next one. So next time was Game with Dave and Greg, right? The alien sketch.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Now this is a recurring sketch too, but not with The Rock. The Rock did the first. This is the first one, and then Kenan Thompson took over it. I think they did it one or two more times. Because he's actually in the times when they come back to it, Keenan's playing the same character he plays at the end of the sketch, like the football player. He plays the same character. So yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Like for me though, like I just love how The Rock plays it though.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Rock just has so much charisma, and like he'll like do things with his eyes and do things with the way that like he reacts to things. Just makes it funnier to me. Like it just is. It's like really good.
The whole thing is it's like a Sports Center type show where he's just like it's like Game Time with Dave and Greg, and he's just like the straight like commentator guy, and then it's Bill Hader. He has like no eyebrows, and he's just like really like stone faced, and he's like, and he's Greg, and it's like, and we're here, talking about March Madness and only March Madness. Eventually, he's just like, only March Madness, but he's like, we're taking your phone calls, and he's like, oh, so and so lost. I got you, Dave, and he's like, yeah, you got me. And he's like, oh, I just want to comment on one thing. Greg's an alien. Greg is not an alien. They keep saying it, and Greg is not an alien.
Yeah, like, and there's some like line where the guy calls in.
To you, Chuck.
Yeah, like we're like, way to go, Chuck, because like
Chuck.
When the guy calls in, like he makes some kind of prediction about like OU, they just throw in these like random colleges, and then he's like,
way to go, Chuck.
He's like, good job, like you made that prediction. Correct, they made it into the tournament. Way to go, Chuck! And he's like, way to go, Chuck! And he like makes some kind of like weird noise too.
Hader's doing this voice where it's like this super deep, like monotone, like way to go, Chuck!
Right. It's like when he calls in, he's like, all I gotta say about Greg is the guy's an alien, right? I mean, he's got to be. I mean, he talks weird. He ain't got no eyebrows. He don't know nothing about the Earth. I mean, I love the show, but the dude's an alien.
It's an alien, yeah. And then they cut to like a commercial thing where it's like, and year round you can enjoy Game Time with Dave and Greg, and with the calendar, and it shows like calendars from like 20 years ago, and he's exactly the same pose, and he looks exactly the same. And so the next caller is just like, now come on, you guys just had that commercial for the things, and the guy doesn't age. I mean, he's an alien, right?
Yeah, right. And then
like, Greg is not an alien. It's like.
Yeah, and then so he says the thing one more time. Bill Hader, he's like, way to go, Chuck. And then you see like Dwayne Johnson, he's like, shh. He's like rubbing his arm or something. He's like, shh. And he just keeps going. Yeah. But then
there's another line he does where he's just like, that's my taxi cab.
Oh yeah. Don't take my taxi cab or whatever.
And the callers just keep reacting like everything's going. He's like, come on, he's just imitating things he sees like on Earth or whatever. I mean, the guy's a total alien, right? Greg is not an alien.
Yeah. And then when they come back from the commercial too, like they kind of catch him off guard, and he's like also, you don't have to call everyone Chuck. We all have different names, and if you're unsure, you say hello or how do you do?
Yeah, and the
it's
whole
like people
idea,
don't really say how do you do. They just say like hi. It's like this like an old time.
But the biggest like punchline of the episode is like The Rock like spills a thing of water, and he starts like absolutely freaking out. He's just like,
oh yeah.
And he's just like freaking out and like shaking and shaking.
Yeah.
Oh. And then everybody's calling and just going like, dude, the guy freaks out over water, and it's not the first time it's happened either. He's done it a bunch of times. He's like, for God's sakes, the guy has wings, and it cuts back to him. He's got these like Dilophosaurus wings coming up behind him, like this thing.
Yeah, for Jurassic Park.
On his back, And then the whole thing is just like, and they're speculating. One of them's just like, but the only thing I can figure out is, okay, we all know Greg is an alien, but like, why put him on a sports show? And he's like, well, the only thing I can figure is he eats human muscle. I mean, you guys are always bringing on all these athletes and things, and he goes, and then they always disappear right after. And then The Rock's just like, they don't disappear; they all go on vacation.
Yeah, right. And they all go on vacation. Yeah.
And you see Kenan Thompson just like freaking out because he's like a running back or something from like a thing, and he's got like a water bottle in his hand. He's like spraying the water bottle.
Yeah,
he's just like, keep it away. And then Bill Hader's just like,
He's all
like
nervous,
looking out, like doing like a stare down. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of visual stuff too. So like you need to watch the sketch to watch like The Rock
right.
like just kind of smiling his way, like trying to fake his like thing, and just how many
I have
times they
big
work
eyes
in
or
like
whatever.
the
Yeah.
Greg is not an alien thing, and like Bill Hader just having this like stone face and doing his like monotone stuff. Like it's all really funny. Like this is exactly what Bill Hader does. It's like why he's one of my favorite performers, because he can make anything funny. Like he's so good.
Yeah, right. And I like when they like one of the times that they start saying these are alien, like the phone just like will just like cut out to like a dial tone, and then like Dwayne John's like, haha, oops, must be some phone trouble. We're just moving on now, and that's when he like knocks over the like water on him. But like, yeah.
Well, even when they do the commercial at the end of
Like
the
a big
voiceover on the commercial, it's like enjoy game time 365 days a year. Greg is not an alien.
Yeah, right.
They just keep working it in. But yeah, so we went from that to what the Donald Trump apprentice thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the
commercial.
The, like, commercial for Celebrity Apprentice, yeah.
Well, they've done some of these before. I remember they did one for like Domino's Pizza. Do you remember that one where Donald Trump he keeps like improvising during that one, just keeps going like keeps screwing up the tagline though, or he keeps just going like Dominios, The Apprentice, like just stuff like that. Like because it's just Daryl Hammond just being like the whole idea of the sketch is he keeps wanting to like improv and just riff. So he's always just like, all right, we're gonna take another one and action, bing, 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 bing. NBC, The Apprentice, bing, 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 bing. Like he's just going, and the director's just like, I give up. Like eventually, just do whatever you want. But the whole thing is really just a parade. It's just a parade of impressions, really, like in between the Trump thing, just like going off.
Yeah, like when it starts out, they're like, okay, like, okay, Trump, can you just stand on your mark in front of the mic, Mr. Trump? And then he's like, hold the phone. Actually, I'm holding the phone. Then he pulls out 2 cell phones. It's like I'm hot syncing all the measurements from the Miss USA contestant from my BlackBerry Curve to my ePhone, and we're hot sunk. All right, now let's crank out these mini commercials from NBC. I need to get back to shooting the Celebrity Apprentice, which, by the way, getting huge post-air DVR rating hits in the 30 to 35
time slot.
It's like the 30 to 35-year-old white male douche demographic. All right, who's first?
Yeah. So they bring on Fred Armisen, who's playing Tom Green.
Yeah.
He's just doing the thing that like he's just being like weirdo Tom Green. Like he just pops up in front of the camera like real close. He's just like
way too close to the camera.
Whoa. What's going on? What? The camera. Like he's just like kind of poking his head around, just like saying nonsense words, just like poking around, like just being stupid.
There's just some weird things Tom Green would like kind of say. Be like, I'm a doggy.
Yeah.
I eat spaghetti or whatever.
Yeah, and then they go to Trump, and he's just like, all right. He's like, oh, here on the Celebrity Apprentice, you can watch this parade of weirdos like this guy, and then but you can mainly watch it from me. Freaks like this, bing, ba, bing, ba, bing, ba, bing, The Apprentice. Yeah.
And like the whole time that he's saying that, they have like Fred Armisen. So like you have Donald Trump trying to say all that, then Fred Armisen just like standing in front of him, just way too close to the camera, like the whole entire time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
and then no, it's all good. Good.
I was gonna say, he was like, all right, let's keep this parade
freaks going or something. Yeah.
It was like that. It was like let's keep this parade of celebrity ding dongs moving. And he's like, can we get Joan Rivers in here? And then you have Michaela Watkins come in as Joan Rivers with like one eye twitching and then like way too much lipstick on. And he's like, oh, we gotta hurry. I gotta start putting on my makeup for the Oscars. Next year's Oscars. Oh. And she keeps pushing up her face, like her face is about to fall off or something.
Yeah.
Like, she's like doing that whole thing.
Well, it's all the plastic surgery she had later in life where she had a completely like artificial face, essentially. But I thought Michaela Watkins' impression of her was pretty good. Like I thought the voice was pretty spot on.
Yeah.
That she was doing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then Donald Trump's like, he's like, this one's got a voice like a running toilet. It never stops. And then you have the announcer that's like, we need to get in a few extra takes. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but let's bring in Dennis Rodman. Dennis, if you could step in, please. And it's The Rock is Dennis Rodman.
The Rock is Dennis Rodman. He's just parading around. He's like, hey, he's wearing like an Affliction T-shirt, like that all the douchebags were wearing around that time.
Yeah.
He's just got all like the earrings and stuff. And he's just like, come on, guys, let's knock this out. I got to go back and get a tattoo of my balls on my neck.
Right. Yeah.
And he's just like parading around, and he only says like one or two things. I thought it was a pretty good, like, decent impression though. I think because he's big enough to beat Dennis Rodman too, so it kind of makes sense.
And when he comes in too, like Trump is like, finally somebody normal. And then
yeah, right.
When he walks in, he's like, step up to the mic. He's like, does the mic know who I am? Maybe he should step up to me. And he goes like there's a little gun thing. He's like, bang! I just blew your mind. Don't ever try to trump my entrance, Trump.
Yeah. And then like Tom Green pops up again, just like eating pasta, like right close to the camera or something like that. He's like eating spaghetti. I get spaghetti. It's spaghetti. I mean spaghetti.
Yeah, right.
Donald Trump's like, let's wrap this thing up, people.
And he's like, it's a freak show. Bing ba ding da ding ding ba ding. Cut.
Bing ba bing ba bang. Cut The Apprentice. Yeah.
He's like, cut. Check the gate. It's a wrap. And he's like, it's not a wrap. It's not over. He's like, no, it's a wrap. All right. And he's like, I want everyone to meet me over at Chelsea Piers in an hour. You're going to be getting on ski-doos and selling Mary Kay makeup to people watching along the river. And Derek Jeter's going to be there. And then it just kind of fades out. He's naming all these, just like random celebrities or something.
Away. Yeah.
Because like it's like a play on like all the ridiculous stuff they like have all the contestants do on The Apprentice.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a semi-recurring sketch. Like I said, he did another one about like Domino's Pizza or something like that, where they just can't get him to do the thing right, or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, they did these things. Okay, it was more just again a parade of like more of a parade of impressions, essentially, which they did. But then what was the final thing? Was the lighthouse, right?
Before that, though, you had a third performance from Ray LaMontagne. Usually they don't perform 3 times, but he did in this one. So, but then you have the lighthouse.
Yeah. So the lighthouse thing is like it's The Rock and Kristen Wiig, and it's like he's got her on like a date at like the top of the lighthouse, like he runs it or whatever, and the whole thing is just like he's like, all right, let me just like set the mood here a little bit, and he like turns off the light, and you just hear somebody crash in the background, like a ship crash immediately. By the way, as soon as the light goes out, and it's
immediately they start crashing.
Yeah, and it cuts to like it's like Will Forte and Andy Samberg, but he's playing like an old timey like pirate, where he's just like, what happened? Where's the beacon? What happened to the beacon? We crashed our ship on the rocks. We lost sight of the rocks because of the beacon. Something like that. And like he kicks it back on, like it keeps cutting back and forth between them and the Rock, essentially. Is like kind of the setup.
Will Ferrell is like an old sea captain. They're like, what in the name of Davy Jones' locker is happening? Or like they'll just say just random things like that. But like one of the things though that I just like all the dialogue between The Rock and Kristen Stewart. So like when we first
Kristen Wiig.
Stewart. Kristen
That's a whole nother show.
Sorry. Yeah.
That'd be a much more boring sketch.
Right. Which is like, he's like, wow, you live in a lighthouse. This is so romantic. He's like, I'm kind of the Don Juan of marine safety. He's like, well, I'll be the judge of that or whatever. And then they keeps turning off all the lights, and like basically by the end of the sketch, literally have all the rest of the remaining cast just about like on these rocks that they like crashing.
Like Bill Hader's in there, and then like Jason Sudeikis crashes up on like a jet ski, like immediately he's up on the rocks too. But the funniest thing to me was not so much some of the dialogue; it's that somebody off screen obviously was like taking buckets of water and just like tossing
throwing it at him,
like splashing it. And you can see if you go back and watch, like Bill Hader and all those guys are trying so hard not to start laughing. They're all just like every time they get splashed, they're just like the reaction they have to it. They're just like okay, like they're trying to spit their lines out, but they keep going. But the whole thing is just like when Jason Sudeikis crashes, like Will Forte's just like there be a sea beast crashing up on us, something like that. They're all like poking at it with sticks and stuff, like kill the beast. Things like that. The Kraken is slayed. Stuff like that.
The Kraken is slayed. Yeah, that's one. But like while this is all going on, they keep hearing all this screaming and like crashing. So like one of the lines is like Kristen Wiig's like, do you hear that? It sounds like screaming, and the Rock's like, I hear my heart screaming. that's what it wants. It wants you. So let me put a little music. And then he
You like salsa?
yeah, he puts on some salsa music, and then like he's like dancing, but every time that he claps, like he says, well, apparently this lighthouse is hooked up to the clapper, so like it's like clapping, it'll go out, and then someone else will crash again.
Oh no! What happened? Where's the beacon? Yeah. I can't believe it turned off again, and we crashed into these rocks again. Stuff like that. Just really obvious lines. Like I can't believe we crashed on the rocks.
But like Kristen Wiig's like, is somebody down there? Well, I swear, I heard something. And the Rock is like, no, it's just a whale. They say that the only way to calm them down is by the sound of two strangers making love, but they'll also accept a BJ. I'm like, okay.
And they just start doing a lot of double entendres because then Kristen Wiig or Rock's just like, I'm gonna go down there, and Kristen Wiig's like, yeah, you're gonna go down there, or something, or she's like, I'm gonna go down there, and he starts taking off his pants, like undoing his belt buckle. He's like, oh, you are, just kind of stuff like that. Like it's all these like double entendres back and forth.
Yeah, where he's like, that's what I'd like to hear, and then he's like, you mean go check on those people? Oh, I mean, not people. I mean the whales. But I agree. Before you do that, let's have a drink. And he like plugs in the margarita machine and it shorts it out again, so more people keep crashing. And
then eventually, when it cuts back to the things, eventually they've Jason Sudeikis, like he's been stabbed like 3 times. He's got like 3 different pieces of wood like in his back.
Yeah,
they totally killed him. But like some people are still splashing him all in the faces, and they're just like, "We've slayed the beast. We've slayed the kraken." Like, yeah. I mean, that's
like what?
It's just a super absurd sketch. Like overall, like it's just really silly.
Yeah,
but it's kind of fun.
Like what in Davy Jones's locker is going on in that lighthouse? They're like, only the kraken will save us. They're like, huzzah! We slain the beast.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's total absurdity, but like in both parts. But like, it's pretty amusing for what it is. Like everybody's selling it hard. Like, and again, I thought some of the funnier things were just watching them get splashed in the face and try to spit their lines out was pretty amusing.
Yeah. But basically that's pretty much it for the episode. I didn't have anything else. So
no, that was pretty much it. Yeah. I mean, overall, I thought it was a really good episode. Like overall, like, there wasn't really a lot of like I think the worst sketch of the night was probably the activity thing, and even that was at least kind of amusing. Like it wasn't that bad. It was just like it was just a thin premise that just went on too long. But like despite that, like every other sketch was pretty solid, or at least like really good. Like I thought it was a really good episode. I mean, most of the Rock's episodes they host are good overall, like for sure.
Yeah. So like if I were to give the first episode the score out of 10, like I'd probably give it like a 4. Like it wasn't very strong. Like,
it's like a 3 or 4 for me. It's pretty bad. And then the Rocks is like a 9. Like it's pretty strong.
Yeah,
like
for me too.
9.
Yeah,
it's really strong.
The best. Well, for me, out of anything out of any episodes that we've reviewed for the show, like it's probably my favorite one so far. So yeah,
more than the Michael Jordan one.
Great. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like it was just really good. Yeah.
Because I think that was kind of the bar. Was like the Michael Jordan one was probably the strongest one up to that point that we'd seen so far. So yeah, like it's pretty close.
Like the second best one, probably.
Yeah, it's really really good. But the one we may do next time might eclipse that. I'll kind of tease you a little bit. So I guess next time we're going to keep going with this season, right? So the next one's Willie Nelson, right?
Yeah, we got Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
For episode 12, I think, of season.
And then our wild card, Jordan. I teased you when we were texting beforehand that you were going to be very happy with this pick, and I've been looking for a reason. I've been looking for an excuse to do this episode, and I finally have one. So, Conan O'Brien is doing his last late night show in like 2 weeks as of this taping. So he's retiring from late night. He's retiring from late night altogether. So in honor of that, and you can see where I'm going with this. We're going to watch the episode from season 26, March of 2001, hosted by Conan O'Brien, which is one of my favorite episodes of all time. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it, for sure. And I know you said you've really seen it before, right? Like it's a pretty damn good episode from what I remember. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The weird thing is,
that Conan O'Brien is one of my comedy heroes. Like I think he's just like one of the funniest people that's like ever lived in comedy for me personally. But like I don't know if I've ever seen the episode. I feel like I probably
You've
have.
probably
like,
seen sketches. You've probably seen sketches from it at least on like reruns back in the day or something.
Yeah, like once I actually watch it, I'll probably end up recognizing quite a bit from it. But
now I know off the top of my head there's one that's definitely not on the Peacock, but I remember it so vividly that I won't even need to like try to look it up. There's like a thing where he plays where there's like a hearing about all these musicians, so they cut all that out of the Peacock episode. But like where he plays Right Said Fred, the guy who did I'm Too Sexy. So
really?
If you remember that at all, yeah. So anyways, but I saw it so many times on Comedy Central back in the day. I've got it burned into my brain, so I'm good. But everything else is pretty damn funny. So from what I remember, it's a really good episode, so we'll see that next week. So no matter how the Willie Nelson thing turns out, we at least have something to look forward to in the second half. Because and in honor of Conan O'Brien, who's sadly retiring from late night very soon. Yeah,
but he's still going to have a sketch show over on HBO. He's moving to HBO, and he's going to have a sketch show.
Well, and he's still got his podcast, which I listen to. His podcast is pretty good too. Like Conan O'Brien Needs Friends.
It's a friend. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also, I believe that he's still going to do Conan without borders, where he like travels to different countries. That's going to be a Netflix thing. I think they're gonna have exclusively on that.
Yeah, and I could see him still doing things for the YouTube channel, that Team Coco like YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
Just maybe doing stuff on there. You know, maybe just not like the episodes, but still doing like having clips of stuff that he does, you know, on there, or uploading some more classic clips, things like that, for sure.
Yeah, I can see him doing. Like maybe a Clueless Gamer or some of those little sketches that he does, you know. So yeah, for sure. But so what season did you say that the Conan one's from? Did you say
that is season 26, and that's from March of 2001. So we're going back to 2001, kind of the Will Ferrell, you know, Chris Kattan, Tracy Morgan, kind of era. You know, we're still going back to there. Yeah.
So he's still doing the late night with.
Yeah, no, it's back when he was pretty much like when he was starting to really pick up steam on the late night show. Because I remember watching the late night show really hardcore from like 2003 to like 2007, like those 4 or 5 years in there was when like because I had a TiVo too, so I would TiVo like every episode, like I was DVRing like everything. And so I was watching it pretty, like I was a big Conan fan, like especially around that time when he was doing his late night, because I think his prime was really around that late night time. You know, that late night career was like some of his best stuff ever. So yeah, this is right in the middle of that. And remember, he was a writer for SNL back in the day as well, which kind of comes into play, you know, on the episode as well, because he talks about that. So yeah, it's him going back home to SNL.
The thing about Conan too is that like when the show first premiered, like when I saw it, I kind of just like rolled my eyes. I was like, oh geez, who's this guy gonna be? Like this show looks completely cheesy. Looks like they have like probably half the budget that the Tonight Show has. Kind of looks almost kind of lame. But then like over time, like it really grew on me to the point where like I'm just like, man, like Conan is like a comedic genius. He's so freaking funny. He'll just say it. Just like random everyday things, just having like a normal conversation, but he has a way to make it hilarious. So like I'm looking forward to like it.
Well, and the fact that he would make fun of the fact that they didn't have like the Tonight Show budget all the time, you know, that all their stuff looked cheap. Like he would make fun of, like even in the middle of the thing, he'd be like, that looks so horrible. I'm like, that looks so cheap or whatever, you know. It's like he would make fun of it in the middle of the sketch and just talk about that, you know, or if something went wrong, he would just go with it, you know, and just be like, that was horrible. You know, like he would just talk about it. Like it was supposed to be silly, which is what made the show fun. It was just super silly and just goofy, you know, like as you could tell he just enjoyed just being kind of silly and just being like a kid, you know what I mean? Just being goofy.
Yeah, for sure. And when he left the late show, or not late show, the like late night with Conan, that like he lost some of the like best reoccurring things. Like they had like in the year 2000, they had that one, and then they also had like the masturbating bear. They had Triumph Insult Comic Dog. They had all those things, but like I guess those were maybe owned by NBC or something because he could never do them again.
Well, he couldn't bring those over to
TBS. Some of those.
Yeah, NBC owns all that stuff, so literally he couldn't bring over that stuff like at all. So yeah, it's unfortunate. But
it's just sad because those are some of the best bits. But yeah. But anyways, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that was a fun time. So yeah, that's our little review on Bronson Pinchot and on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson from 2009, and The Rock has hosted it at least 3 or 4 other times. So eventually we may get back to another one of his episodes. You never know.
Yeah, he's a 5-timer. He's in the 5-timers club. So he's hosted kind of in all the different eras because he hosted in like 2000 and like 2002, and they did like a 2009 and 2010, and then he jumped to like 2017 or something like that. So maybe we'll get around to like maybe the 2017 one, or I know like the 2001 is good, but unfortunately Peacock cuts out like a lot of the stuff that I remember seeing in reruns, which is unfortunate because some of the better sketches. Yeah, they edit it to shit. So, but if we get around to them again, maybe we'll do like the one more nearest to like 2017 or something like that. So maybe eventually, yeah, we'll check out another one.
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to mention too that we kind of made this Live from Movie Hero thing more of a monthly show now. So you're just gonna see it probably once a month. Maybe like if you get a slow month, we may end up doing 2 in a month. You never know, but we'll kind of see how it goes because we're also getting ready to premiere another new show that's going to be called Hello from Movie Hero, a show about nothing, which is going to be our new Seinfeld recap show. We're going to be going back to watch classic episodes of Seinfeld because me and Austin are both huge Seinfeld fans. So. And that'll be another monthly show too, so we'll be doing that.
Yeah, I would say even more than SNL. I'm like a huge Seinfeld fan too, like even more than SNL. Like I love Seinfeld, and yeah, I'm gonna be definitely like watching the episodes, and like I'll bust out my old DVDs because they've got like all the commentaries and the behind the scenes notes and stuff. So I'll bust those out.
Found it all on DVD,
and watch that. And so yeah, it should be a lot of fun because again, there'll be shorter episodes. Like we'll do it kind of like Movie Hero where we do 2 episodes. But because they're shorter, we'll be able to go a little more in depth on them, and it'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. And also too, since they're shorter episodes, it's a little bit of an easier watch. We'll kind of see how it goes. We're going to start out just doing just monthly episodes because we got a lot of content going on at Movie Hero now. We're starting to roll out. We got another new show that'll be premiering next week. Actually, that'll be called Tournament Fights, which I'm excited to premiere. We're going to have our first episode next Wednesday. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time next Wednesday, and we're going to be breaking down my favorite 64 movies of all time and letting you guys vote and decide which one you guys like the best. And we're going to do one episode for each one of my co-hosts too. So we're gonna have another episode for Austin. We're gonna have another episode for Chris, and then we'll just probably move into some other fun topics we really want to do, like the best stand-up comedians of all time, maybe like some best characters from different TV series or TV shows. Like we'll get into some fun topics. So
yeah, and the format is going to be interesting because we're going to be voting on as they come up in these brackets of like for instance Jordan's top 64 favorite movies, but he's not exactly the deciding vote. Like it's all of us voting for what is our favorite, and then so his top 64 or like his top 10 or so within the 64 may be different than what he originally had. You know what I mean? Yeah, based on the voting, or what comes out on top may not be the one that he starts with as number 1. It may end up being something that's at number 10 or number 20. Because it's the idea is that they get put into a randomizer and we don't know what order they're in, and a whole panel votes on what's their favorite, and we kind of just see what happens. So that's the idea, and it's kind of a unique way to kind of to do a take on it, to see. So it's not really like a ranking show. It's just more of like a voting and kind of seeing how things play out as random things are put against each other, and seeing where we end up.
It'll be pretty interesting because we're gonna have 64. I wanted to make it 64 because that's how the March Madness is. They got 64 in their bracket, and every once in a while we might do like a half bracket if we have something
32
that we might want to discuss a little more. But like, there's not going to be as much discussion. We'll still discuss a little bit, but we'll just give it, and maybe just like a quick maybe maybe 10 or 15-second thought on like why we want to vote for the one we want to vote for.
Well,
Then we'll
maybe people
move
are
on.
just like, so and so movie is awesome. Whatever rules, I vote for that. And then we go to the next person. Blah blah blah.
Right.
I vote for that because of this, and I vote for that because of this. That real quick, like 10-second, things, so we can bust through them, and then we
because voting for 64,
see where we end up. Yeah, it's gonna take a while.
So yes, we want to move at a little bit of a pace, but at the same time too, there's definitely definitely a show where we want to have some guests on, and it makes it just a little easier for people that might feel like they might not know as much about a certain topic, because you can literally vote on these things for whatever reason you decide. So like you could even vote because you like the movie poster better than the other movie poster that we're
you could vote for a movie
on.
If you just like one of the actors in the movie and you haven't even seen it. I like this actor, so I vote for this movie.
Right.
You can literally vote for that reason. You can vote because you like the color scheme of the poster. You can vote because you like because I like the tagline of the movie, or I heard this movie was better than this movie, so I vote for that movie. Or you could say, I heard this movie is better than this movie, so I'm going to vote for the bad movie, so I vote for that one. You know what I mean? You can vote
like
that
if you
way
want to throw a
if
wrench.
Throw a wrench in it and say,
Yeah.
I think that movie's terrible, so guess what? It's the underdog. I'm going to vote for it. You could do that.
Right.
So that's it could be the fun thing. So literally these brackets could go any way. Like there could be a ton of forks in the road in getting to the number one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It reminds me of another show that I appeared on. It's another show that's done by another member of the community named Carl Sherlock. He's a show called The Sherlock Reel. So we did one that were the best. I want to say that they're the best DreamWorks movies of all time. So we did a DreamWorks episode. Literally, our number one DreamWorks movie of all time ended up being The Prince of Egypt, which is just like a really random one.
Yeah.
To have, but we wanted to throw a little bit of a wrench into it and to go with The Prince of Egypt. So that's what we did. So like a little weird.
Well, it's the same thing with there's a podcast I've been listening to called Screen Drafts, where they draft movies into a top 10, top 7 list. And the two panelists do. But like there's been wrenches to where they don't mention like a really obvious movie because either they think the other person is going to draft it, or they're hesitant to do it too early to get it on the list. Right. They try to get it later, but it doesn't work out, or it gets vetoed. So like they did a time travel one, and because of like the wonkiness of it and like people hesitating, Back to the Future didn't even make the list. And like the internet exploded. So it was like a huge faux pas because everybody kept expecting. Well, that was the thing, is like people kept going, well, I'm pretty sure the other person will put this movie I'm thinking about at number one, and then like that person didn't, and then it didn't. And so Back to the Future just never made the list. You see what I mean?
Okay.
So like it could be like one of those shows where like there's a huge wrench in it. So yeah, it's kind of silly, but tournament fights could end up being like that because of how it's voted on and how what the panelists think, and literally the person's. It's the person's list or whatever, but like it could get all screwed up by the end of it. It could be all crazy. Like that person's number 64 out of the thing could end up as number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's the fun part about the show.
Win the whole tournament. Yeah. Or if you ever come to any matchups where it's like two movies you've never seen before, you could just vote for the one you want to see the most, that looks the most interesting to you. So it doesn't matter if you haven't seen them.
Or maybe it's the person's list. They could pitch both movies to you really quick, and you just go, well, based on that thing, I want to see that movie. And then you just vote for that movie. I mean, again, you can vote for literally any reason you can come up with.
Yeah, so we got a couple of fun shows on the horizon, so you can watch for that. We're slowly building the content on the channel, so we're excited for that. But yeah, this has been a fun time, and I know we already kind of talked about what's going on with the channel, but is there anything else you want to promote, Austin, like where we can find you?
I mean, it's just Movie Hero 2121 is the official Twitter page which I run, and we've already talked about we got other shows like Tier Ranker Fights, which is big on the channel, so go check that out. And obviously, if we haven't heard already, we've got a podcast now called Podcast League Now, and it's on YouTube channel as well. The first episode's up there, and the second one will be released very soon. So please follow us on there. Check out our podcast, man. It's me and you and Chris just yapping and talking and BSing and just having a good time. If you want to see something
about our favorite things,
not sticking to any particular topic, just talking about stuff, and we have a really good time with that.
Yeah, and the second episode is actually going to be premiering this Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It's not going to be live because usually we'll record a couple episodes in the night so you know a little bit about the behind the scenes. They're not all live, but usually we'll go with one live one and then one pre-recorded one. So you get one live every other week, and then in between you'll get the pre-recorded one that'll premiere on the channel. So you can still get in there in the live chat, and we'll jump in the live chat every once in a while too. We'll be chiming along with you, so it'll be fun. So yeah.
Well, like we talked about, it's 3 personalities on 3 different time zones, so we work with what we have to work with our schedules. Because until Movie Hero is
Mountain Pacific,
until this channel is paying all of our bills, we got to do what we got to do and line up our schedules. So outside of life, so we do what we can. Hence why Live for Movie Hero has been delayed for about a month and a half. We just we got to figure out times to do it. So we just we do it when we can.
And look for the next Live for Movie Hero to premiere somewhere between mid to late July. I'm going to be out of town for 2 weeks coming up soon, and so it'll be premiering then. And then also the Hello from Movie Hero, a show about nothing. Our Seinfeld show will be premiering about the same time. One's going to premiere right in the middle of the month. One will be premiering at the end of the month. And we'll announce it on all of our social media and also,
and tentatively, if you want to follow us along, we kind of talked about it earlier. I think what we're going to do is something similar to Live from Movie Hero, where we're going to, the first half of the show, we're going to start with season 1, literally season 1, the pilot. We're going to talk about the pilot, and then just go from there. But in the second half, maybe start at like season 5, or 6, something like that, and to where they had already hit their stride, and so we can get a contrast of like early Seinfeld versus like established Seinfeld. So we'll probably do like season 1 and like season 5, and start with the first episodes of each one, just so it'd be interesting to see, in each episode, like, here's the really early writing and the format of the show, and then here's like kind of what we're all used to from Seinfeld. You know what I mean? Like the rhythm and the writing and the pacing and things like that. Because it's really interesting when you go back and watch the earlier stuff. It's not exactly the same as it did later on when they hit their stride.
Yeah, right. There's a little bit of a different vibe to it. So you'll kind of see when we.
So it should be it. But it's been a long time, honestly, since I've gone back to seasons like 1 and 2. So it should be interesting to go back to it and watch it from the start. Because it's not a season I go back to a lot, but I haven't revisited in a long time. So it'll at least be a kind of revelation for me to kind of watch it from the beginning, for sure.
Same here, yeah. And really the only other place that you can find me is that I run the Schmoedown Friends and Family group over on Facebook. So if you ever want to come talk about Schmoedown, there's 1,000,001 matches being released all the time, so it's even hard for me to kind of keep up with those. But we'll definitely talk about those. And then if you have anything that you want to promote, if you have a YouTube channel that you got going on, or any project you've been working on, you can definitely post to your heart's content over in the Schmoedown Friends and Family group. And also too, I'll just say, give the channel a like and subscribe to it. Hit the little bell so you don't miss an episode. You can keep up to date whenever we go live, because we have a little bit of a wonky schedule, because we usually like to cater to the schedule of our guests. So we don't always film on the same day. So clicking the little bell will definitely help you get those alerts about the show.
If you guys are starting your own YouTube show and you need guests to talk about movies, hit us up, man. Maybe, you never know. Maybe we'll come on your show too, and help you out.
Yeah.
We're all about helping each other out here. So if we're available, you'll see Jordan on some other shows. I'm about to go on some other shows soon. I think we're both going to be on Movie Battleground. They're starting up a new season. I mean, we're always open to that. If you guys, we can always trade guests and have fun with that. We're all about supporting each other's shows and helping each other's content. So we're all about that. So if you guys need guests or vice versa, please hit us up. We're cool guys. I swear to God, we're very low key, cool dudes. If we're available, and we can help you out and have fun. We're all about it, man. So let's have fun.
Yeah, we got a lot of knowledge when it comes to basically anything in the pop culture world, movies, TVs, anything like that. We're always down to talk about it. I've been on like Rankin with Malcolm Lay. I've been on the Sherlock Reel, and next week I'm going to be on a new show from Jacob Barber. So real we're always down to do those kinds of things.
Well,
but
I'll have
but
to
yeah.
get on Barber's show so I can get to know him before I fight him in Movie Battleground this season. We'll have to get to know him and see what his how good his knowledge is. Yeah, because I've got him in the first round. Like, we don't know yet. It's not played out, but
and I got Malcolm
you know,
Lay in the first round. So
yeah, you got
that'll
your buddy
be
Malcolm
interesting.
over from Rankum, so you know him pretty well. So I mean, we'll have to see what happens. But I guess
we'll see.
I haven't really been on the show, but I assume it's kind of like movie fights ish. You know, just a lot of movie debate kind of stuff. But which is right up my alley, though. So I love it. I mean, it's what we do on Tier Ranker, essentially. You know, in a smaller format. But yeah, for sure. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, but again, this has been live from Movie Hero. So for myself, Jordan Movie Hero Anderson, and Austin Pez, we'll catch you probably next month for this show. So we'll talk at you later.